Chapter 1004. This really was a large irony. This was the girl he had loved for 8 years, the girl buried deep in his heart. He had thought that he would never be separated from her, but he never thought that the distance between them would already be this far away. After the emperor's coronation ended, the emperor, empress, and empress dowager Zhou returned to the palace. The ministers all sat in their own carriages and left the ancestral temple. Very quickly, there was only Chu Xiaoyang left. His right hand was placed on his chest, and he could feel the blood flowing out, but no one could see it, not even himself. Regret? He asked himself. It was he who used that half-a-snow ginseng to save her life. He could have asked for more. The throne was already within his reach. As long as he said a single word today, Mo Chuan would have given him the throne without any hesitation. However, he gritted his teeth and did not say a single word. Mo Chuan once again placed a chance in front of him, but he still let this chance slip away from his eyes. Because this was something Chu Mo Chuan gave to Chu Xiaoyang, he did not care about it. If he wanted it, he would use his own strength to take it from Chu Mo Chuan's hands, including her. Chu Xiaoyang slowly straightened his chest. He stood on the high steps and looked down. The red carpet led all the way to the palace. Her figure had already disappeared, but he still foolishly looked at her. The sunlight shined down on his face, making him dazzling once again. He tightly gripped a piece of paper in his hand. This was the divorce letter she had written for him. He had said that the moment this divorce letter appeared in front of her again would be the moment he came back to look for her. Chu Xiaoyang's lips slowly curled into a smile as he confidently said, Ning, there will be a day when you will return to my Chu Xiaoyang's side. Asterisk after returning to the Guan Osprey Palace from the coronation ceremony. The first thing Qin Ning did was take off the heavy phoenix crown and rubbed her sore neck. Mo Chuan walked over and placed his hand on her slender neck, gently rubbing it for her. With a faint smile, he said, Are you tired today? I'm not tired. The one who's tired is you, right? Her eyes sparkled as she revealed a faint smile at him. Mo Chuan, you put on a good show today. She bit her lips and said with a smile, What show did I put on? Mo Chuan innocently looked at her. Qin Ning rolled her eyes at him and confidently said, You're the respected emperor, yet you're acting shamelessly in front of everyone. Pooh! Mo Chuan could not hold it in and broke out into laughter. How'd I act shamelessly? Tell me about it. You used the throne to threaten those ministers, forcing them to agree to you making me empress. Then, you turned around and said that you were following the will of the masses. Didn't you see the expressions of those ministers? They were so disgusted by you that they almost vomited blood. Isn't this shameless? Mo Chuan smiled and said, Mo Chuan, Mo Chuan, Mo Chuan, Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan said with a smile, Mo Chuan, Mo God. Mo Chuan, Mo Chuan, Mo Chuan. You are the emperor. Of course, you can do whatever you want. However, none of those officials expected that the wise and extraordinary emperor in their eyes would act like a scoundrel in public. How could their small arms be a match for the thick thighs of the emperor? Of course, all of them have become soft stones that you can knead however you want, she said with a smile. Chapter 1005. You heartless girl, actually calling this one a thick thigh? Why don't you think about who I'm doing this for? He pretended to be angry as he spoke. She chuckled and said, Of course you're doing it for me, the vixen. Although those ministers are all praising me with their mouths, and their words are even more pleasant to hear than singing. What blue heart and intelligence, what beautiful appearance and intelligent mind, TSK in their hearts, they're definitely all cursing me for being an evil vixen that has bewitched the sage. Mo Chuan couldn't help laughing at her. Qin Ning looked at him without blinking. Her eyes were intoxicated, making his heart beat faster. Mo Chuan, you look so good when you smile. You should smile more often. His smile was like the blooming of spring flowers, the thawing of the earth. It was like the spring wind and rain, making her stunned looking at it. You think I look good? He asked with a smile. Her words always made his heart feel like he had eaten honey. Of course, she honestly said. This was the first time Mo Chuan was happy that he had a pretty good face, because she felt that this face was good and she couldn't take her eyes off it. But I think you look better. Not only do you look good, you're also delicious. He used the tip of his tongue to moisten his lips. His eyes looked down and stared at her red lips. Chen Ning suddenly thought of his passionate kiss in the morning. She quickly jumped up from the chair and moved back. Mo Chuan, stop messing around. Where do you want to hide? Don't think you can hide from me in this life. He stretched out his arms and easily caught her. Looking at her shy and red face, he chuckled. What are you afraid of? It's not like I'll eat you right now. Chen Ning calmed herself down. That's right, with Dr. Zhang's orders, he wouldn't touch her right now. So what was she afraid of? Actually, Mo Chuan, you don't need to act shamelessly today. You just need to loudly say in front of everyone. This one wants her as the Empress, and those ministers wouldn't say a single word, but you didn't say anything. You let those ministers give a bunch of reasons first, and when they finish speaking, you force them to refute their own reasons, making them slap their own faces. You really are bad. Thinking about it now, she couldn't help wanting to laugh. This Mo Chuan, he really was black-bellied. Mo Chuan said with a smile, it's more interesting like this. Don't you think this kind of show is more interesting? It's indeed very exciting. Watching their faces change back and forth, it's almost as if they're actors on stage. She giggled. That's right, Mo Chuan. Why didn't I see Xiao Bai at the Empress ceremony today? Speaking of which, I haven't seen or heard from him for several days. He didn't even appear at such an important event today. Did something happen to him? Mo Chuan. She had not thought about Chu Xiao Bai for the past few days. Even if his figure flashed in her mind, it was just a flash. Because her heart was filled with Mo Chuan, there was no room for her to think about other people or other matters. She remembered reading a sentence from a book. When you have a partner, you will ignore a lot of people and things around you. Your world will become very small. So small that only the person beside you is left. This was life, and no one was an exception. Only now did she realize the true meaning of this sentence. She was too happy, but when she thought of Chu Xiao Bai, she couldn't help feeling a trace of regret. Chapter 1006. Hearing her suddenly mention Chu Xiao Bai's name, Mo Chuan's arms holding her slightly stiffened, but Chen Ning did not notice it. Xiao Bai? I sent him out to do something important. He isn't in the capital right now. What? You've already become my empress. Are you still thinking about him in your heart? Aren't you afraid this one will be jealous? Mo Chuan deliberately said. He knew that he was the only one in her heart, but at this time he was not willing to hear the name Chu Xiao Bai come out of her mouth. Mo Chuan, what nonsense are you saying? I'm just a bit worried about him. When I needed him the most in the past, he would always appear in front of me. I'm worried that something has happened to him. I don't know why, but I keep feeling scared. What did you send him out to do? Is there any danger? She looked at him with a bit of worry. His heart slightly sank, but he had a relaxed expression on his face. Do you think I would send him out to do something dangerous? He went to ask for medicine for you. That day when you were poisoned and your life was in danger, it was Xiao Bai who took the initiative to ask the #1 divine doctor in the world for medicine to cure you. That divine doctor's residence is at least a few days away from the capital, so perhaps he still hasn't arrived at the divine doctor's residence yet. Since you're worried about him, this one will send Zhue Feng to chase him back. If he knows that you're fine, he will definitely rush back to see you. Are you assured now? The #1 divine doctor in the world? Is his medical skills even better than Dr. Zhang's? Chen Ning had indeed heard of this name before. Ma Bai had sent Chu Xiao Bai away because of jealousy and sent him to ask for medicine for Empress Dowager Zhou. It was said that he went to ask the #1 divine doctor in the world. She naturally did not doubt Mo Chuan's words at all, but she was a bit curious about this #1 divine doctor. Mo Chuan nodded, but he did not say anything else. Mo Chuan, you should send Zhue Feng to chase Xiao Bai back. He's working so hard for me. It makes my heart feel uneasy. She allowed a soft sigh. Hearing that Chu Xiao Bai was working so hard for her, her heart was filled with gratitude and guilt. All right, then I'll tell Zhue Feng now. You little girl, thinking about another man like this, are you really not afraid I'll be jealous? He deliberately looked at her with dissatisfaction. She giggled. You won't be jealous of Xiao Bai because you care about him like me and because he is our closest person. You're right. Mo Chuan turned to look at her before opening the door. The smile on Chen's face slowly disappeared. In the coronation ceremony, she did not see Chu Xiao Bai's figure, but she saw a person she did not want to see at all. Chen Xiao Xiaoyang. If she wasn't so familiar with him, to the point where she could recognize him just by looking at his silhouette, she would not have believed that the person she saw today was Chu Xiaoyang. He was among the group of ministers, his purple robes fluttering about, bright and beautiful, but not the slightest bit of attention. He became gloomy and low-key. Although his eyes were fixed on her, she couldn't feel his overbearing aura. But her attention did not stop on Chu Xiaoyang. She just looked over his face and did not look at him again. Chapter 1007. Her life was saved by Chu Xiaoyang, but he had given it back to her. From now on, he didn't owe her anything, and she didn't owe him anything. They were just like two strangers. But today, Chu Xiaoyang had done it. He was not as crazy, excited, or angry as before. There was only calmness on his face. He did not bother with her, was like a completely different person. Chen Ning heard from Mo Chuan that Chu Xiaoyang had already brought Chen Baiyun back to the King Ding Yuan Palace from the Cold Palace, and he had acknowledged the child in Chen Baiyun's stomach. Only, Chen Baiyun was still a concubine, and Chu Xiaoyang did not ask for the princess concubine position that Chen Baiyun dreamed of. Perhaps he had really let go of his hand and let go of his obsession with her. He also knew how to cherish the happiness in his hands. Like this, perhaps it was a happy ending for everyone, right? But Chu Xiaoyang, did he really let go? Chen Ning suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. After Mo Chuan left the Guanyu Palace, he was the same as Chen Ning. The smile on his face slowly disappeared. Xiao Si, where's Zhue Feng? Reporting to the emperor, Zhue Feng is still in Dr. Zhang's palace. Xiao Si replied. Mo Chuan looked back and quickly walked out of the palace gates. Xiao Si closely followed behind him. How is Xiao Bai? Mo Chuan took a breath. Standing in the empty palace, he asked in a low voice. Reporting to the emperor, His Highness King Jing and is still unconscious. Dr. Zhang said that he hasn't eaten anything for 2 days and his fever hasn't subsided, so his situation is not good. Xiao Si replied in a small voice. Mo Chuan's breathing stopped. Didn't Dr. Zhang clearly say that he was fine that day? He should be fine as long as he rests. So why is his illness becoming more and more serious? Xiao Si shrunk his neck and said, Emperor, Dr. Zhang said that King Jing and sword wound is not fatal and his wounds have been healing very well these past 2 days. But for some unknown reason, King Jing and suddenly has a fever. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's hot. Even Dr. Zhang can't find the cause, so, follow this one to Dr. Zhang's house. This one wants to personally see Xiao Bai. Mo Chuan did not wait for him to finish as he turned to leave. Emperor, it's best if you don't look. King Jing and's current appearance is different from before. Xiao Si chased behind him and stuttered. How is it different? Mo Chuan suddenly stopped and turned around, staring right at him. Xiao Si lowered his head. Xiao Si, are you hiding something from this one? Xiao Bai? Is he already? Mo Chuan's pupil shrank, and he reached out to grab Xiao Si's shoulder. His heart filled with fear. No, Xiao was in, and Mo Xiao on Xiao Tian Shat Xiao Yang Xiao Shat. Xiao Si, tell this one everything clearly. Mo Chuan shouted in a low voice. Ti Xiao Tiant. Xiao Si knelt down and said with tears in his eyes, King Jing and is still alive, but Dr. Zhang said that he has already lost consciousness and can't feel anything. He can't hear or see anything, and he is very thin. Thin to the point that he doesn't seem like him. Mo Chuan's body heavily trembled, almost not daring to believe what he was hearing. He stared right at Xiao Si and said in a hoarse voice, Say it again. Xiao Si swallowed his saliva and repeated his words. Mo Chuan felt dizzy. He stared at Xiao Si for a while before suddenly turning around. He used his qing gong and disappeared from Xiao Si's sight after a few leaps. Chapter 1008. Chen Ning thought that Mo Chuan would come back soon, so she changed into a set of comfortable clothes in her room. She took off the complicated empress robe and felt her body become much more relaxed. Who would have thought that after waiting for a while, she would not see Mo Chuan's figure? She thought that he must have gone to the royal study to take care of some matters. In the past few days, because of the wedding and empress ceremony, as well as her being poisoned, Mo Chuan had not had a good rest at all. He hadn't even taken a step into the royal study for several days, so he must have accumulated a lot of matters to take care of. She had nothing to do and remembered that Mo Chuan had asked her to practice internal energy, so she sat down cross-legged on the bed and began to cultivate according to Mo Chuan's internal energy cultivation technique. But after cultivating for a while, she felt her eyelids become heavy and she was filled with fatigue. She unknowingly fell onto the bed and fell into a deep sleep. She slept all the way until the sky turned dark. When she opened her eyes, she found that the light of dusk had already entered the room and everything was a blur. There were no candles lit in the room and there was no one there. She found that there was a thin blanket covering her body. It must have been Xiao Ru who came in to cover her when she was asleep and her heart filled with warmth. Xiao Ru, she raised her voice and called out, "Young miss, you're awake?" Xiao Ru immediately pushed open the door. She had been guarding the door the entire time, not daring to disturb Chen Ning's rest. Is Mo Chuan back?" she asked. Xiao Ru shook her head. "The emperor hasn't come back yet." She lit the candle, and the room began to brighten up. The warm candlelight reflected the radiance of the room. "Young miss, you're hungry, right? This servant will immediately bring something to eat." After Xiao Ru said this, she said in an embarrassed voice, "Then, should this servant call you the empress in the future?" Chen Ning smiled as she pinched her nose and said, "You can call me whatever you want, it's up to you. Then this servant will call you young miss like before. Calling you the empress is too awkward." Xiao Ru stuck out her tongue and walked out the door. After a while, she came back with a tray. There were 4 maids behind her, and each maid was holding a box of food. Xiao Ru directed the maids to place the dishes on the table, and the fragrance filled the air. Chen Ning was indeed hungry. Smelling the fragrance of the food, she felt her stomach rumble. The dishes were very exquisite. They were personally made by the best imperial chefs in the palace. It could be said that they looked, smelled, and tasted great. There were dishes, porridge, desserts, and fruits. It was very rich. Chen Ning looked at the table of dishes and couldn't help frowning. "Young miss, do you not like the taste of this dish?" Xiao Ru worriedly asked. "No, it's too much. How can I finish so many dishes by myself? Does every meal in the palace require so many dishes?" Chen Ning looked at the maid on the side. The palace maid respectfully replied, "Replying to Empress, this is sent by the imperial kitchen according to the rules. Xiao of Chen of Chun of Ning of Ning. From today onwards, my Guan Osprey Palace only needs 2 dishes and a soup for every meal. Give the order to the imperial kitchen. This is the new rule. The Empress of Chun of Li, Yi of it. I can't finish all of these dishes. I only need 4 dishes. You can eat the rest." Chen Ning said. Chapter 1009. Xiao Ru said with a smile, "This elder sister, the Empress, always keeps her word. You can take these dishes away." She left behind 4 dishes and placed the rest into boxes of food, giving them to the maids to take away. The 4 maids carried the boxes of food as they left. "Xiao Ru, let's eat together." Chen Ning patted the chair beside her. "Young miss, you're now the Empress. How could this servant dare to sit down and eat with the Empress?" Xiao Ru did not dare sit down. Chen Ning said with a smile, "Silly girl, just treat this place like before. The Empress is just an empty title. Come, sit down." She pulled Xiao Ru to sit beside her and placed the chopsticks in her hand. "Don't hold back. Just do what you did before." Xiao Ru revealed a smile and said, "All right." After the 2 of them finished eating, Xiao Ru cleaned up the dishes. "Young miss, How about this servant help you bathe and change? Ning nodded and looked out the window. She was thinking it was already this late. Why wasn't Mo Chuan back yet? When she finished bathing, the moon had already climbed up the window. She sat in front of the window and held her chin as she looked at the moon. Her hair was still dripping with water. Xiaoru helped her dry her hair while saying, "Young miss, you don't need to wait for the emperor anymore. If you're afraid of not being able to sleep, this servant can sleep with you." Ning said with a faint smile. "How did you know I was waiting for him?" Xiaoru's face turned red and she said, "This servant just knows." Seeing Xiaoru's face turn red, Ning couldn't help feeling a bit strange. "Xiaoru, why is your face red? How could it be it's hot? This servant is hot." Xiaoru quickly touched her face and found that her cheeks were indeed hot. "Xiaoru, are you hiding something from me?" Ning narrowed her eyes as she looked at her. Xiaoru lowered her head and did not say a word. Ning looked at her bashful and shy appearance and was a little surprised. Could it be that this girl was experiencing her first awakening of love? She pulled Xiaoru's hand and asked with a smile, "Xiaoru, are you also waiting for someone?" "That's right." Xiaoru blurted out, but when she said it, she felt embarrassed. "You're waiting for Xiao Si?" Ning rolled her eyes and guessed. "Oh, no." Xiaoru quickly denied it, but she slowly lowered her head in front of Ning's eyes. "Xiaoru, tell me, do you like Xiao Si?" Ning looked at her without blinking. Her heart was thinking, it can't be, right? When did this happen? Why didn't she feel it? Could Xiaoru really like Xiao Si? Xiaoru really like Xiao Si? Xiaoru looked at Xiaoru. "I like him." Xiaoru innocently looked up and looked at her. Ning took a breath. She knew that Xiaoru did not understand the true meaning of the word like. Yu, he, Yu as Yu. Chapter 10-11. Ning's heart couldn't help sinking a bit. She gave a sigh and rubbed Xiaoru's head as she said, "Silly girl, do you know that Xiao Si is a eunuch?" "I know. Eunuchs are people who serve the emperor. There are many eunuchs in the palace, but the one I like is Xiao Si, not the other eunuchs." Ning stared at her. This girl didn't know what a eunuch was at all, but she didn't know how to tell her. Perhaps it was her first love, and she liked being with Xiao Si. She still didn't know what true love was. When she slowly grew up, she would understand. "All right, you like Xiao Si, but does he like you?" "I don't know. I haven't seen him in a few days, and I haven't talked to him. I don't know if he has forgotten about me." Xiaoru shook her head and sniffled. She suddenly felt like she wanted to cry. "Xiao Si hasn't been in the palace these past 2 days?" Ning thought about it carefully. She indeed hadn't seen Xiao Si in the past few days. Xiao Si was always by Mo Chuan's side, so wherever Mo Chuan went, he would be there. However, Mo Chuan had been in the Guanyu Palace these past 2 days, but Xiao Si hadn't appeared at all. This matter was indeed strange, but she thought about it. Could it be that Mo Chuan sent Xiao Si and Chu Xiao by to find the world's #1 divine doctor? It was possible. Don't think too much about it. It's possible that Mo Chuan sent Xiao Si out to take care of things. He'll be back in a few days. She said, No, young miss. Actually, I clearly saw Xiao Si today, but he ignored me." Xiaoru couldn't help sniffling. "You saw him? When? Where?" Ning asked in a curious voice. "Right here." This servant saw the emperor come out of the room and call out Xiao Si. Xiao Si suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and then the emperor brought Xiao Si out of the palace. Standing in the palace, the two of them spoke in a very low voice, so this servant couldn't hear a single word. Then this servant saw the emperor's expression change. In the blink of an eye, the emperor disappeared, and only Xiao Si was left standing in the palace in a daze. I called his name and asked him what happened, but he didn't even look at me, like he didn't hear me at all. In the blink of an eye, even Xiao Si disappeared. "Young miss, do you think my eyes are going bad? Did I see wrong? If he really is Xiao Si, why is he ignoring me?" Xiaoru pouted her lips, and tears began to fall from her eyes. Ning did not say anything. The scene that Xiaoru had described flashed through her mind, and a strange feeling filled her heart. Didn't Mo Chuan say he wanted Zhue Feng to find Chu Xiao by? Why did she pull Xiaoxi into the palace to whisper to him? Xiao Xiao? Xiao SSTT say? Or perhaps he didn't want her to know. She understood Mo Chuan. He had a calm and steady personality, not showing any emotions on his face. Unless he was in front of her, he would reveal a smile. Normally in front of the ministers and in the palace, he would always have an ice-cold face. What did Xiaoxi say that could make Mo Chuan's expression change? It must be a very big matter. Mo Chuan still hadn't come back, which meant this matter was very troublesome. What kind of big matter could it be? Could something have happened to Xiao Bai? She shook her head and threw that bad premonition to the back of her mind. Chapter 10:12. She likes Xiaoxi? Mo Chuan was stunned. Then he couldn't help curling his lips. But Xiaoxi is a eunuch. What does she like about him? Chen Ning stomped her foot and complained. I'm already annoyed to death, and you're still laughing. If I knew what she liked about Xiaoxi, I would immediately call Xiaoxi over and have him change all the things Xiao Ru likes about him. Mo Chuan smiled again. Why do you always have so many tricks in your head? Now that your little girl likes a eunuch, what are you prepared to do? How would I know? Xiao Ru is still young. She can't tell what a eunuch is and what a normal man is. When she grows up, before she could finish, she saw the smile on Mo Chuan's face freeze as he stared at her without blinking. Mo Chuan, what are you looking at me for? He said with a strange expression. Xiao Ru can't tell, but can you? What's the difference between a eunuch and a normal man? Chen Ning's face turned red, and she stomped her foot as she said, Mo Chuan, can you speak properly? He slowly said, Why can't I speak properly? Chen Ning turned her face away and struggled out of his embrace. Mo Chuan gave a laugh and held her in his embrace again. With a smile, he said, All right, I'll send Xiaoxi far away and have him appear less in the Guanyu Palace. If Xiao Ru doesn't see him in the future, she will naturally forget him. When she's a bit older, you can slowly find a good marriage for her and let her get married in style. What do you think? It sounded like a good idea. Chen Ning nodded and looked up at him. Then what about Xiaoxi? Why haven't I seen him in several days? Where did you send him? Mo Chuan said with a smile. You're not asking where I went, and you're actually worried about Xiaoxi? Is it Xiao Ru who likes him, or you who likes him? Mo Chuan. She stomped her foot again. He revealed a smile and carried her to the bed. It's too late. Let's rest. He placed her on the large imperial couch, took off his coat, and laid down beside her. He blew out the candle, and the room immediately became dark. Only the moonlight shone through the paper window, dimly illuminating the floor. Chen Ning rested her head on his arm. She had just slept during the day and was very energetic, so she couldn't sleep right now. She heard Mo Chuan's breathing become heavy, like he was already asleep. She didn't dare to move around in his arms. She just opened her eyes and stared at his sleeping face with the help of the hazy moonlight. When he was asleep, he was the same as when he was awake. His face was serious and cold, and his body was straight and stretched out. One arm was for her to use as a pillow, and the other was gently wrapped around her shoulder. His face was also very white, and the corners of his lips were slightly curled up. Even when he was asleep, he was still that. His body was also very warm, with a scent that she was familiar with, as well as a faint scent of herbs. She knit her brows and thought of the injuries on his body. Her heart instantly ached, and she reached out to take off his clothes, preparing to see his injuries. She gently undid his belt and found that he wasn't moving at all, still sleeping. She let out a sigh of relief and went to take off his clothes. Suddenly, her hand was held by a fiery hand. Chapter 10:13. What do you want to do, An? Mo Chuan slowly spoke with a lazy hoarseness in his voice. That playful look in his eyes was like he had caught a child doing something bad. This made the righteous her suddenly feel guilty, like she was molesting him. Actually, she just wanted to take off his clothes and look at his injuries. What did he think she wanted to do? I just want to take off your clothes, and then... Before she could finish, he suddenly leaned over and kissed her on the lips. Chen Ning's eyes were still open as she looked at his face that was enlarging in front of her. Her mind could not react for a while. She wanted to tell him that she really did not have any intentions of molesting him. She just wanted to look at his injuries. But she couldn't say anything. He held the back of her head with one hand and didn't allow her to escape. He kissed her in a domineering and forceful manner, and the kiss became deeper and deeper. His lips and teeth intertwined with hers, and dazzling sparks flashed in front of her eyes. That was the collision of their hearts with each other. Mo Chuan's eyes were half open as his gaze met hers. He saw that her eyes were filled with intoxication, and his passionate kiss became gentle, slowly tasting her sweetness. He had to carefully control his emotions, otherwise the one suffering in the end would be himself. He had already tried his best to avoid being too intimate with her, but she was not calm and wanted to provoke him. Could it be that she did not know that even if he was asleep, a slight movement from her would wake him up? Not to mention that she even dared to take off his belt and take off his clothes. This man's clothes, how could she take them off as she pleased? She was really not afraid of provoking his fire. He only wanted to give her a punishment kiss, but kissing and kissing, he also became lost with her. His breathing unknowingly became heavier as his passionate kiss moved from her lips to her slender neck. Suddenly, he stopped all of his actions and fell down from her body. He lay on the bed while gasping for breath. Damn, what was he doing? Chu Xiaobai's face flashed in his mind, and it instantly extinguished the fire burning in his body. He began to deeply hate himself. Mo Chuan. Chen Ning sat up on the bed and looked at him with a deep gaze. There were no candles in the room, and the moonlight was dim. She could not see the expression on his face, but she could feel his regret and pain. He had only made out with her for a while. Why would he feel so remorseful and pained? Mo Chuan's body froze. He looked up and gave her a nonchalant smile. Then he reached out to hug her and stroked her hair. It's my fault. I couldn't control myself. Next time, remember, you're not allowed to provoke me, understand? Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences, he said in a threatening tone, but his calm expression could not fool her. She could tell that he was hiding something from her. Mo Chuan. She continued to look at him. Mo Chuan felt like he was being seen through under her clear as water eyes. He forced himself to calm down as he pinched her chin. Do you want me to kiss you again? Mo Chuan. She looked straight into his eyes. The two of them were so close that not even the slightest expression on his face could escape her notice. Mo Chuan looked down and tightly pursed his lips. Chapter 10:14. Mo Chuan. She raised her voice. He closed his eyes and spoke in a hoarse voice. Xiaobai. He can't hold on any longer. What can't hold on any longer? What do you mean? Xiaobai, what happened to him? It was like Chen Ning did not hear his words at all as her eyes opened wide in disbelief. Mo Chuan took a deep breath and raised his eyes to look at her. His face was pale and his eyes were serious. His voice was heavy with a trace of trembling. Xiaobai, he's about to die. It was like a muffled clap of thunder exploding in her ears, causing her to be dumbfounded. She looked at Mo Chuan in a daze, unable to digest the information he had just said. What did he mean? Xiaobai. Chu Xiaobai can't hold on any longer? He was about to die. How was this possible? This was simply impossible. Mo Chuan, you're joking, aren't you? You're lying to me on purpose, aren't you? Her voice trembled and her eyes unknowingly filled with tears. He held her hands and could feel her entire body trembling. It's true. Ning, I'm not lying to you. But why? Just what happened? Tell me. Didn't he go find the #1 divine doctor in the world to ask for medicine? Why is he suddenly going to die? Her body swayed, and then she tightly gripped his hands, staring right at him. Mo Chuan took a deep breath again, and a look of pain flashed across his face. He did not avoid her gaze and firmly opened his mouth. He did not go find the #1 divine doctor in the world. He has always been in the capital city and in Dr. Zhang's palace. On your wedding night, you were bitten by a snake and your life was in danger. Dr. Zhang was helpless and said that only the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng could save your life. So I went to find Chu Xiaoyang, but he refused to use the snow ginseng to save your life. He He said that unless I gave you to him, I rejected him without any hesitation. I knew that you would rather die than return to his side. I was completely disheartened at that time and decided to live and die with you. Not long after I returned to the palace, Xiaobai came and delivered the soup made from the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, but he fainted as soon as he came in. I found that there was a deep sword wound on his chest that was bleeding all the way. In order to save you, he did not hesitate to injure himself and let Chu Xiaoyang stab him. Then he gave the life-saving soup that Chu Xiaoyang gave him to you, but he still fainted. He paused after saying this because tears were already pouring out from his eyes and his throat was choked. Looking up, he did his best to control himself and not let the tears fall. He did not want her to see his tears. Chen Ning listened in a daze. She did not notice Mo Chuan's tears at all because her eyes were filled with a mist of tears and she could not see anything. But her eyes were wide open as she looked at Mo Chuan without blinking. Her face was as pale as Mo Chuan's and her lips trembled. After a while, she finally moved her lips and asked in a low and hoarse voice, "In order to save me, he is about to die, right?" Mo Chuan closed his eyes and gave a soft unsound. Her body swayed again, and her fingers turned cold without a trace of warmth. She trembled so much that she couldn't even hold his hand. Chapter 10:15. Chen Ning forcefully glared at Mo Chuan. "I'll feel guilty for the rest of my life. How could I let Xiaobai use his life to exchange for my happiness? Mo Chuan, how could you be this selfish?" Her voice stopped, and large drops of tears fell down. "I didn't ning her, I really didn't. Xiaobai did indeed send a life-saving ginseng soup, but there was only one bowl of soup, and I didn't know who to save. When I was in a dilemma, Dr. Zhang came over and checked Xiaobai's injuries. He quickly stitched up Xiaobai's wounds and fed him medicine. Dr. Zhang said that Xiaobai only had external injuries and nothing serious. He would recover after a while, so I believed Dr. Zhang and picked up the snow ginseng soup to save you." Before Mo Chuan could finish, he was coldly cut off by Chen Ning. "So I drank that bowl of life-saving ginseng soup, didn't I?" "No, you didn't drink that soup because it was poisoned by Chu Xiaoyang." Her body suddenly trembled and her eyes opened wide in shock. She tightly knit her brows and said in a confused voice, "I don't understand." Mo Chuan gritted his teeth and no longer hid anything. He told her everything that happened that day. Because Chu Xiaoyang had already guessed Xiaobai's intentions, he deliberately made a bowl of poison to make Xiaobai, I think it was life-saving ginseng soup. He wanted me to personally feed it to you. He wanted to personally see my painful expression when I killed the person I love the most. It's a pity that his poison was seen through by Dr. Zhang. God bless me, I didn't feed you that poison soup." He couldn't help tightly hugging her. Thinking of the scene at that time, his heart was still filled with fear. Chen Ning gave a cold shiver in his embrace. She knew that Chu Xiaoyang hated Mo Chuan, but she never thought that he would hate Mo Chuan to this degree. He actually used his own blood-related little brother and ignored his own brother's life, allowing the person he hated to personally poison the person he loved the most. Just what kind of cruel and ruthless heart was this? Then what happened after that? How did I cure the poison? Didn't you say that it was the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng that Chu Xiaoyang sent to save me? That's right. Who can guess Chu Xiaoyang's thoughts? He followed Xiaobai into the palace and hid in the shadows the entire time. Only when Dr. Zhang saw through his poison did he show himself. He happily took out the snow ginseng and said that he owed you his life, so he would return it to you. Then he left without looking back. After Chen Ning heard this, she didn't say a word. Of her eyes were dark, and Mo Chuan couldn't see through of Ning of her of his. Of his body. After that, Dr. Zhang brought Chu Xiaobai back to his palace to take care of his injuries. I've been busy with the Emperor's coronation these past few days, so I didn't have time to see him. Until Xiao Si told me today that Xiaobai's condition has been worsening. He has already reached the point where he can't eat or drink and has completely lost his senses. When I saw him in Dr. Zhang's palace today, I almost didn't recognize him. Chapter 10:16. Chun-Ning's fingers slowly let go of his hand. She closed her eyes, and her body powerlessly fell backwards. Ning-er! Mo Chuan was shocked and quickly hugged her. She fell into his embrace with her eyes tightly closed. Tears kept flowing from the corners of her eyes, and a few strands of hair were stuck to her face, making her face look very pale. He did it for me. He did it all for me. It was me who harmed him. She muttered in a low voice that was like a whisper. Mo Chuan's heart filled with pain. He tightly hugged her, but her body was trembling in his embrace. Ning-er, this isn't your fault. It was like she didn't hear his words at all. She opened her eyes and looked up at his face as tears continued to fall from her eyes. If he's dead, how am I supposed to pay him back? What can I do to repay him? Mo Chuan, tell me, if Xiaobai dies like this, will you feel guilty for the rest of your life? What about me? Can I be happy? She suddenly forcefully bit her lips, tightly biting them. Even when she tasted the sweet taste in her mouth, she still did not let go. Ning-er, don't hurt yourself. You can't save him like this, and my heart is just as uncomfortable as you. He looked at the bright red on her lips, and his heart was filled with even more pain. Mo Chuan, take me away. Chun-Ning suddenly broke free from his embrace and sat up. She straightened her shoulders and looked right at Mo Chuan. Go? Where? Mo Chuan was stunned. I want to see him. I have to see him. She met his gaze and said with a determined expression, All right, I'll take you there tomorrow when the sun rises. Mo Chuan did not hesitate as he nodded. I can't wait until tomorrow. Mo Chuan, take me there now. She forcefully grabbed his hand. Didn't he say that Xiaobai was about to die? If he couldn't even make it through the night, wouldn't she never be able to see him again? Mo Chuan stared at her. Her expression had already returned to normal, but her eyes were shining brightly. He knew that if she couldn't see Chu Xiaobai, she would not be at ease no matter what. When they arrived at Dr. Zhang's palace, the sky was still not bright. Mo Chuan brought her down from the roof and landed in the yard. A vigilant voice came from the room. Who is it? Following that, a faint gray figure floated out of the room. It was Zhu Feng. When he saw Mo Chuan and Chun-Ning standing in the yard, he was shocked and quickly bowed down. Greetings to the Emperor, Empress. Empress, you guys. Why are you here? Xiaoxi followed Zhu Feng out the door, also incomparably shocked. Where is Xiaobai? Mo Chuan asked. In the room. Dr. Zhang is currently giving him acupuncture. Xiaoxi said in a low voice. Mo Chuan let out a sigh of relief and turned to look at Chun-Ning. Her eyes were staring at the flickering candlelight on the window paper, like she was looking at the light of hope, not blinking at all. Her face was much calmer than he had imagined. Ning, Dr. Zhang is giving Xiaobai acupuncture. Do you want to go in and take a look? He asked in a soft voice. She also heard Xiaoxi's words and knew that he was still alive. In her darkest and most frustrating days, the handsome youth that smiled at her and gave her warmth, he was still alive. She had also heard Xiaoxi's words. She knew he was still alive. In her darkest and most frustrating days, that handsome youth who had smiled at her and sent her warmth, he was still alive. Chapter 10:17. As soon as she entered, Chun-Ning choked on the smell of medicine, but she did not stop as she walked into the bedroom. There were several small red clay stoves burning in the room, and on top of each stove was a medicine jar that was constantly emitting white steam. Before Mo Chuan and her arrived, Xiaoxi and Zhu Feng were brewing medicine. On the bed, Dr. Zhang was bending over to give Chu Xiaobai acupuncture. He did not hear Chun-Ning's footsteps and was completely focused on the needles, not even lifting his head. His white hair was a mess, and his forehead was covered in sweat. He was a completely different person from the usual neat and tidy doctor. Chun-Ning's eyes only swept over Dr. Zhang. She did not disturb him and just silently stood in front of the bed, staring at the motionless Chu Xiaobai lying on the bed. If Mo Chuan had not told her that he was very thin, so thin that he didn't look like a human, She really would not have believed that this body that was as thin as a skeleton was Xiaobai. Her body slightly swayed, and she almost lost her footing. She felt a strong arm supporting her from behind. Mo Chuan was standing behind her with one hand holding her waist, letting her lean against his chest. Then together with her, he silently looked at Chu Xiaobai on the bed. Xiaobai, is he really Xiaobai? Her lips trembled, and her voice was so soft that she couldn't even hear herself. Mo Chuan's hand holding her waist slightly tightened before nodding. Chen Ning couldn't help closing her eyes. After calming herself down, she opened them again. The Chu Xiaobai on the bed was very thin. He was so thin that his cheeks were sunken in and his eyes were popping out. His face was yellow and his eyes were closed. His chest was flat, like it was not moving at all. He was lying there like this, looking dead. He was like a corpse without any breath or warmth. She saw the thick bandages on his chest. That was the sword wound he deliberately received to save her. Was it because of this sword wound that he had become a living dead? Chen Ning did not believe it. The room was very quiet, so quiet that even the sound of a needle falling to the ground could be heard. There was only Dr. Zhang's heavy breathing. Xiaoxi and Zhue Feng also silently entered the room. The two of them did not make a sound as they silently sat by the stove looking at the medicine in the pot. Dr. Zhang's movements became slower and slower, and the sweat on his forehead became more and more. In the end, it was already very hard for him. Everyone in the room watched him until he finished the last needle. After letting out a long sigh, he fell down on his butt. Mo Chuan reached out to gently support his back. Dr. Zhang stabilized himself and turned around, instantly being shocked. Emperor, Dr. Zhang was so shocked that he couldn't say anything. He looked at Chen Ning and his jaw dropped, thinking that he was dreaming. Dr. Zhang Xiaobai. Mo Chuan slowly said. Dr. Zhang instinctively wanted to shake his head, but when he saw Chen Ning beside him, his neck froze, and he vaguely said, King Jing and is blessed by the heavens. He is still this young. Perhaps he will be fine. Only he didn't have any confidence in saying this. So how could the people beside him not understand? Mo Chuan's heart suddenly sank, and a trace of pain flashed in his eyes. Chapter 10:18. In this silent atmosphere, Chen Ning slowly walked forward and approached Chu Xiaobai's side. Empress, you don't touch the needles on his body. Dr. Zhang couldn't help reminding her. I know, she softly said. Now she was even closer to Chu Xiaobai, so close that she could see each of his eyelashes. So close that she could see the faint rise and fall of his chest. That's right, Dr. Zhang did not lie to her. Xiaobai was indeed still alive. But he was only alive. She could not see a trace of life from him and could not see a trace of familiarity. Her eyes fell onto his right hand. That hand was like a layer of skin wrapped around a skeleton, looking indescribably terrifying. Once upon a time, his fingers were slender and graceful. She would always remember that it was this hand that he used to hold up a beautiful ice flower that didn't seem to belong in this world. He carefully and excitedly brought it to her eyes and gave it to her. Do you like it? Take a sniff. It's quite fragrant. Strange, this flower carved from ice. How could it be fragrant? This is the ice fragrance you wanted. It's a snow lotus I picked from an ice mountain. His clear and pleasant voice was still ringing in her ears, but the young man who gave her the ice fragrance had become a living dead person. Chen Ning tightly bit her lips, not allowing the tears in her eyes to fall. She still remembered the first time she saw him was in Chu Xiaoyang's wedding hall. Under everyone's gazes of disdain, only he looked at her differently. He revealed a smile to her that was like a spring breeze, blooming flowers everywhere. But the youth who had been smiling like the spring breeze was now lying motionlessly on the bed, allowing her gaze to wander over his face. His eyes were tightly shut, ignoring her. Perhaps his eyes, which were brighter than the cold stars in the sky, would never be able to open again. Chen Ning suddenly gave a cold shiver and threw this terrifying thought to the back of her mind. Dr. Zhang, wasn't he injured by a sword? How could it become like this in just a few short days? You're saying he can't hear, see, or feel anything. Why is it like this? She turned around and asked Dr. Zhang with a trembling voice. Dr. Zhang gave a sigh and shook his head. Reporting to the Empress, this old minister has been a doctor for several decades. But I really can't explain why King Jing would suddenly become like this. The Empress is right. He only suffered a flesh wound. Although the sword wound injured his lungs and caused him to lose large amounts of blood, it wasn't fatal. This old minister helped him close the wound and fed him elixirs. According to this old man's experience, he should be fine after a few days of rest. But this old man never would have thought that King Jing's condition would suddenly worsen. Not only did it not improve, it became even worse. He paused for a moment, and an extremely ashamed expression appeared on his face. This old minister tried everything, but it was like a stone sinking into the ocean. There was no effect at all. King Jing has a high fever, and this is not a serious illness. But no matter what medicine is fed to him, he will spit it out. He doesn't eat or drink, and has lost large amounts of blood. So he is this thin. It's just that he's thin. That's not a big deal. This old official still has a way to slowly cure him. However, what makes this old official helpless is that he has completely lost consciousness. No matter what this old official does, I can't wake him up. Chapter 1019. How is he? Mo Chuan stared at him and asked in a hoarse voice. Dr. Zhang gave a sigh and finally said it. He has given up on himself. He doesn't want to live at all. His words were like a muffled thunder, blowing up the people in the room. Chun Ning's body trembled again, and she leaned back into Mo Chuan's embrace. She closed her eyes, and 2 streams of tears flowed down. Mo Chuan's heart felt like it was being squeezed by something, and it was so painful that he couldn't breathe. Dr. Zhang, didn't you say that King Jing had already lost consciousness? Why are you saying that he doesn't want to live anymore? What do you mean by this? He was confused hearing this. Yes, it's because he has sealed off all his senses. He doesn't want to hear anything from the outside, and he doesn't want to feel anything. He has sealed himself in a shell and doesn't want to come out at all. He is wholeheartedly seeking death. No matter how good this old man's medical skills are, it is hard to save a person that wants to die. Not to mention that he doesn't want to take any medicine at all, and he will vomit out whatever he eats. This old man can only use the golden needle technique to maintain his life force, but if this goes on, he won't last more than a few days. Dr. Zhang shook his head and said in a puzzled voice, "This old man just doesn't understand. King Jing is in his prime. Why would want to die for no reason? This old man can only cure illnesses, but I can't cure the heart of the heart. If we want to save King Jing, we have to untie the knot in his heart. However, he doesn't want to listen to anyone right now, and he can't hear anything. This is a truly incurable disease." He knelt down in front of Mo Chuan. "Please forgive me, Emperor. This old minister has already done his best. Whether King Jing can live or not, this old minister only has 6 words. Do your best and leave it to the heavens." Mo Chuan's chin tightened as he silently supported Dr. Zhang. "This one knows that you've done your best. This one will not blame you." Chun Ning bit her lip until it bled. She knew why Chu Xiaobai wanted to die. It was for her. He was doing it for her. Not only did she know, Mo Chuan also knew. Chu Xiaobai had always liked her. If it wasn't for his jealousy and sending Chu Xiaobai far away from the capital, perhaps it would have been a different ending now. The lucky person to obtain her would not be Mo Chuan, but rather Chu Xiaobai. Only Mo Chuan never thought that Chu Xiaobai would have such deep feelings for her. Even if he died for her, he wouldn't have any complaints. If Chu Xiaobai really died like this, he would feel guilty for the rest of his life and would never be happy. No, he couldn't let him die like this no matter what. No matter what, he couldn't let him die like this. Dr. Zhang, if we can find 1,000-year-old Poria and fleece flower, or if we can find 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, wouldn't Xiaobai be saved? Mo Chuan looked at Dr. Zhang, and his eyes lit up with hope. Chu Mo Chun, Ning Ning, Chu, I Ning, King Chu, King Chuan, San King Chu Chu, Chen Long Chu, he long at Emo Chuan's heart sank, and the hope that was ignited was shattered again. Dr. Zhang, is there really no way to save Xiao Bai? Your medical skills are so high, and you've read so many medical books. Think about it again. There must be a way to save him. He is still so young, he won't die like this. I beg you, you have to save him. Chapter 10:20. Empress, please stand up. You're making things difficult for this old minister. This old minister really has no other way. The only thing we can do now is to keep him alive, unless... Dr. Zhang quickly kneeled down on the ground. Unless what? Chen Ning suddenly looked up. She could hear a trace of hope in his words. But it's impossible. It's simply impossible. Dr. Zhang shook his head again. Dr. Zhang, what do you mean unless? Chen Ning closely asked. Unless we can invite the #1 divine doctor in the world to personally treat King Jing, and only then will there be hope for King Jing'an. But this is an impossible matter. So AI. Dr. Zhang gave a long sigh. Why is it impossible? He is known as the #1 divine doctor in the world, and a doctor's job is to save people. Dr. Zhang, where does the #1 divine doctor live? I will personally invite him to come and save him. Chen Ning's eyes were filled with endless hope. As long as someone could save Xiao Bai, no matter how far it was, she would definitely invite the divine doctor back. She suddenly thought about it. When Empress Dowager Zhou was sick, it was Chu Xiao Bai who traveled thousands of miles to ask the #1 divine doctor in the world for an elixir. Her heart was filled with even more hope. Mo Chuan gave a slight sigh and pulled her up from the ground. He turned to Zhui Feng and said, Zhui Feng, immediately leave the capital and invite the #1 divine doctor in the world. As long as he is willing to save Xiao Bai, this one will give it to him no matter what he wants. Zhui Feng nodded. Wait a minute, Mo Chuan. I'll go invite him with Zhui Feng. Chen Ning suddenly said, No, Ninger, your snake wounds haven't completely healed and you don't know martial arts, so you can't travel such a long distance. Let Zhui Feng go invite him himself. His Qigong is high and his martial arts are strong, so there will be news soon. Mo Chuan refused without even thinking. There's news? Your meaning is that Zhui Feng can't invite this divine doctor? She could hear the meaning behind Mo Chuan's words. Mo Chuan's face did not have a trace of joy. Rather, it was very heavy. He only gave a soft, unsound, and did not say anything else. Why? The Empress doesn't know, but this #1 divine doctor's medical skills can be described as superb and reviving the dead. As long as he is willing, there is no illness in this world that he can't cure. Even a person that just died can be saved, but he has a strange temper. This old minister has heard that there are 3 things he doesn't want to save. As long as it's someone he doesn't want to save, he won't even lift a finger. But if he wants to save someone, even if that person enters hell, he can still pull them back. Zhui Zhanqi. This divine doctor's temper is truly strange. Dr. Zhang, which 3 didn't he say should be saved? Could it be that Xiao Bai is one of the 3 that he can't save? Chapter 10:21. When Chen Ning heard this, she couldn't help being stunned. She suddenly thought of something and turned to look at Mo Chuan. Last time the Empress Dowager was sick, you sent Xiao Bai out of the capital to ask for medicine from the #1 divine doctor in the world. Didn't you get it? If he really didn't save her, then how could he give a prescription to cure the Empress Dowager's illness? If he can save the Empress Dowager, then he can definitely save Xiao Bai. Mo Chuan shook his head with a sad expression. He held her hand and said, that divine doctor was willing to treat Mother's illness not because Xiao Bai kneeled in front of his door for 7 days and 7 nights, but rather because Xiao Bai agreed to a condition and helped him do something that he couldn't do at all. So he made an exception. After that divine doctor gave the prescription to Xiao Bai, he said that he had already made an exception once, so there wouldn't be a second time. Even if Xiao Bai personally went to ask him for help in the future, he wouldn't do anything. I sent Zhui Feng to invite him because I was holding on to a glimmer of hope. Chen Ning wiped her tears and said, he is known as the world's #1 divine doctor, but I think he doesn't live up to his reputation. As long as it's a doctor, They all have a benevolent heart. How could they be like him who doesn't save anything and doesn't save anything? Could it be that rich and powerful people have to die from a serious illness? So what if they know martial arts? He won't save them. There are many people he doesn't like, so, in the end, he doesn't deserve the title of the #1 divine doctor in the world. Dr. Zhang's expression changed as he said, "Empress, please don't slander the divine doctor like this. He is a great doctor with true skills. This old minister has practiced medicine for several decades, and the person I admire the most is this divine doctor. But it's a pity that I don't have the fortune to see him, and I don't have the fortune to ask this divine doctor for a few pointers. It really is a regret of my life. If Zhui Feng can invite the divine doctor to the capital, this old minister would like to see the divine doctor no matter what." His words were filled with praise for the #1 divine doctor. But the more he praised the divine doctor, the angrier Chen Ning became. This divine doctor was truly wild enough. Was he amazing just because he had good medical skills? He didn't save anyone and even made a bunch of rules. What face did he have to be called the #1 divine doctor in the world? I'll go invite this divine doctor now. If I can't invite him to save Xiao Bai, I won't return to the capital. She stomped her foot and angrily said, "Zhui Feng, go prepare the carriage. We'll leave immediately." "Zhui Feng, go prepare the carriage now. We'll leave immediately." Mo Chuan's face sunk as he said, "Ning you can't speak nonsense. Do you think you can invite this divine doctor just because you want to? Even I don't have any confidence if I invite him myself. Not you? Could it be that if you can invite him, you'll never come back in this lifetime?" She raised her head and looked right into Mo Chuan's eyes. She said with a serious expression, "Mo Chuan, believe me, I will definitely have a way to ask this divine doctor to save us. This is our only hope of saving Xiao Bai. So no matter how hard it is, I will not give up." Her expression was resolute, and her tone was full of irrevocable determination. Feng out of his of he, Chun of Chun 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 Long T Chun Chun of T Test T Chun, one at Chun. But how could he be assured of letting her go to such a far place alone? She didn't know martial arts, and even if Zhui Feng protected her, he couldn't be assured at all. Chapter 10:22. Hearing Mo Chuan's words, Xiao Si and Zhui Feng were both shocked. "Emperor, are you really leaving the capital?" If the Empress Dowager knew, she would definitely not agree. Xiao Si's chin almost fell off. His first thought was that if Empress Dowager Zhou knew of this matter, he would be beaten to a pulp. Empress Dowager Zhou would not blame the emperor for leaving the capital. She would definitely blame him for inciting the emperor to leave the capital. "Then we won't tell the Empress Dowager for now. Xiao Si, you can stay in the capital. After we leave the capital, you can report to Mother." Mo Chuan nodded, agreeing with Xiao Si's idea. Xiao Si immediately kneeled down on the ground with a putong sound. He said with a bitter face, "Emperor, you should bring Xiao Si to find the divine doctor. The task of staying in the capital to report to the Empress Dowager could be given to Zhui Feng." Zhui Feng became anxious when he heard this. He kneeled down on one knee and said, "Emperor, this subordinate is your secret guard. This subordinate's duty is to protect the emperor, so of course wherever the emperor is, this subordinate will be there." He stared at Xiao Si, thinking that this little fox Xiao Si was too bad. Wasn't this pushing him into a pit of fire? He had treated him as a brother for nothing. Humph. Mo Chuan, you're the ruler of a country. There are many matters of the country that you need to deal with. The country cannot be without a ruler, so you can't leave the capital. Just leave the matter of finding the divine doctor to me. Chen Ning shook her head at Mo Chuan with a look of disapproval. Could it be that you think I can let you take this risk alone? Do you know how far it is to get to the divine doctor's place? What kind of danger do you need to experience? You are a weak girl who doesn't know martial arts. How can I be assured with you? Mo Chuan deeply looked at her. I'm not going alone. I will bring Zhui Feng with me. His Qigong is good, and his martial arts is high. Not to mention that we are only going to find the divine doctor to save a person, not to fight, so what kind of danger could we encounter? Even if we meet some small thieves, humph, they wouldn't be Zhui Feng's match. Hey, Zhui Feng, you can't even deal with those small thieves, right? Chen Ning said with a relaxed expression. Zhui Feng's face flashed with a proud look. Trivial thieves, what is there to worry about? This subordinate can fight 100 alone. Zhui Feng, you're really strong. Chen Ning praised him, and Zhui Feng instantly felt like he was floating. Xiao Si lowered his head, holding back his laughter as he cursed in his heart. Big idiot. Xiao Si lowered his head. He suppressed a smile as he said, Zhui Feng, don't worry. He is your best hidden guard. Do you think Zhui Feng's martial arts aren't good enough and he can't protect me? Chen Ning said. Mo Chuan hesitated. Zhui Feng anxiously said, Emperor, this subordinate will definitely protect the Empress, not letting her lose a single hair. Zhui Feng, Si Feng. He was now feeling more and more sympathy for Zhui Feng. The Empress had casually said a few words, and he had fallen into the trap. He was afraid that he would suffer a lot on the road. All right, Zhui Feng, this one will leave the Empress' safety to you. If she loses a single hair, this one will punish you. Mo Chuan stared at Zhui Feng. Zhui Feng was stunned. He blinked his eyes and finally reacted. Chapter 1023. Emperor. Zhui Feng stuttered as he looked at Mo Chuan. His face looked like he had eaten a bitter gourd. He wanted to ask, could he take back the words he said? It wasn't that he didn't have confidence in himself. But if the Empress really lost a single hair, how could he explain it to the Emperor? All right, then this matter is decided. Zhui Feng, go prepare the carriage and luggage. We'll leave in the morning. Chen Ning spoke again, not allowing Zhui Feng to go back on his words. Zhui Feng felt that Xiao Si was right. His head was made of wood. He couldn't help looking at Mo Chuan, but Mo Chuan didn't even look at him. Zhui Feng, why aren't you going? Mo Chuan said. Yes. Zhui Feng's eyes popped out in disbelief. The Emperor was really sending him alone to protect the Empress and find a divine doctor? He did not dare disobey, so he braced himself and agreed. He turned around and glared at Xiao Si, who was making a face at him before walking out with large steps. Chen Ning slowly walked in front of the bed and looked at the unconscious Chu Xiaobai. She half-kneeled in front of the bed and reached out a hand, gently stroking Chu Xiaobai's cheek. She slowly said, Xiaobai, believe me, I will definitely find a divine doctor to cure you. You have to wait for me to come back. I'll count to 3, and if you don't say anything, it means you agree and you can't go back on your word. 1, 2, 3. All right, time's up. Then we'll make an agreement. No matter what, you have to wait for me to come back. I believe you can hold on. Isn't that right, Xiaobai? Chu Xiaobai silently laid there. There was no expression on his thin face at all, not even his brows moving at all. A drop of crystal clear tear fell onto his face. Chen Ning raised her head, and a smile appeared on her teary face again. Xiaobai, you're the one who keeps your promises the most. Since you've already promised me, you have to keep your word. If you dare die before I come back, I will never forgive you. Not in this life, not in the next life, and not in the next life after that. She wiped her tears and stood up. She took a deep look at Chu Xiaobai. Dr. Zhang, please keep him alive no matter what. I will definitely find a divine doctor to save him. I'll leave it to you. She bowed down at Dr. Zhang. Empress, this old minister doesn't deserve this. This old minister will do his best to keep King Jing's life. I hope the Empress trip will be smooth and you will be successful. Dr. Zhang quickly kneeled down. His face revealed a look of fear and excitement. He had already heard of Chen's intelligence and thought. He had heard that Chen Ning was extremely intelligent and thought that she was Chen. At the thought of being fortunate enough to meet the world's #1 genius doctor, he began to get excited. Ning, follow me back to the palace first. I still have something to tell you. Mo Chuan grabbed her waist and brought her away without saying anything. Before leaving, he said, Xiao Si, you stay here. If there is any news, immediately report to me. Chun. Xiao Si immediately agreed. He looked out the dark window, and his heart was filled with sympathy for Jue Feng. When the two of them returned to the palace, Missouri Chuan closed the door and stared at Chen Ning without saying a word. Mo Chuan, I have to go. I can't let Xiao Bai lie there like a living dead. Even if there is only a sliver of hope, I have to try it. Chapter 1024. Mo Chuan looked at her for a while before finally reaching out and pulling her into his embrace, using a lot of force. I know that you will definitely do what you decide to do, so I won't stop you, but you have to promise me that no matter what happens, you have to come back unharmed. If you really can't, invite the Divine Doctor. You have to come back. If you dare not come back, how do you think I will punish you, An? He looked at her with a threatening gaze. Mo Chuan, I will definitely come back. Moreover, I will definitely invite the Divine Doctor back, believe me. She looked into his eyes with confidence. He nodded and didn't say anything more. He just squeezed her hand tightly. He knew more about how difficult the #1 Divine Doctor in the world was, but he was not willing to break her confidence. He also hoped that she really had a way to invite the Divine Doctor and save Chu Xiaobai's life. All right, rest here for a bit. I'll prepare the things for you. Once the sun rises, you can leave. Mo Chuan carried her to the bed and placed her on the bed. Mo Chuan, what do you need to prepare? Of course it's something you need. Be obedient and wait for me here. Mo Chuan turned around and left after saying this. She laid on the bed and closed her eyes, but all she could see was Chu Xiaobai's thin yellow face. Tears unknowingly flowed down from the corner of her eyes. Xiaobai, believe me, I will definitely save you. No matter if that Divine Doctor is a human or a ghost, even if he is an immortal from heaven, I will bring him back to save your life. Mo Chuan came back again. His footsteps were soft and silent, so she did not hear them at all. He stood in front of the bed and saw her silently crying, his heart filled with pain. She was crying for another man, but he could only watch, unable to do anything because his heart was just as painful as hers. Silly girl, you're not allowed to cry anymore. You're crying for Xiao Bai. Aren't you afraid I'll be jealous? He hugged her and wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes, pretending to be angry. She opened her misty eyes to look at him and softly said, You definitely won't be jealous of Xiao Bai, but seeing you cry, my heart will ache. He used his finger to wipe the new tears from the corner of her eyes. Ninger, don't cry. She blinked her eyes and tightly leaned her head into his chest, revealing a tearful smile. In this world, only Mo Chuan understood her heart like this and felt pain for her. Her gaze suddenly fell on the two bags he brought back, one big and one small, and her eyes widened in shock. Mo Chuan, what is this? This is for you to use on the road. Come, there are some things you don't know how to use. I'll teach you. Mo Chuan opened the small bag and took out a belt before tying it around her waist. This is not an ordinary belt. This is a very intricately crafted hidden weapon. It has a very nice sounding name. Peacock spreads its tail. Do you want to try its power? This name sounds good. Is this a very powerful hidden weapon? Mo Chuan's face instantly changed as he shouted, Don't move. You definitely can't move. In a flash, he had already appeared behind her. His back was already drenched in cold sweat. Chapter 1025. What? Did I activate the mechanism? Ning did not move at all. She found that her finger was pressed against a small protrusion. Turn around, face the screen, and then press it down. Mo Chuan's large palm pressed against her finger, and he gently used some force. There was a slight chi-chi-chi sound, as if a dense rain was falling on the ground. Ning's eyes fell onto the screen in front of her, and she was filled with surprise and joy. She couldn't help letting out an ah sound. He saw that the solid, red sandalwood screen was densely nailed with dozens of tiny silver needles. Each needle had penetrated into the wood. One could imagine how strong the mechanism of these hidden weapons was. This peacock tail opening is truly powerful. Ning clicked her tongue in wonder as she fondled the belt. Mo Chuan said, The most powerful part of this hidden weapon is that it is silent when it is fired. Even if the other side is a martial arts expert, they would not think that you would have this hidden weapon on you. As long as you face him and press the mechanism, he would not be able to escape no matter how strong his martial arts are. What about you? With your kung fu, can you dodge it? You want to try? Mo Chuan raised his brows. I'll try. She suddenly turned around and faced Mo Chuan as she placed her finger on the belt. Mo Chuan was shocked. He never thought that she would try just like that, not giving him any time to prepare at all. He did not have time to think about it. Suddenly a crane's shadow floated over her head, looking very beautiful. When it fell to the ground, it was already behind her. He heard her laugh. What are you afraid of? Could it be that I'll really use a hidden weapon on you? Mo Chuan gritted his teeth. He turned around and saw the faint smile on her lips, causing his heart to feel warm. He could finally make her reveal a smile. So what if she laughed at him? You have to keep this belt on you. You can't take it off no matter what happens. I'm not by your side, and Zhue Feng's mind is not flexible enough, so I'm afraid he won't be able to take care of you. You don't know martial arts, but with this peacock tail opening, even if you meet a martial arts expert, you don't need to be afraid. There's an anesthetic in this needle, so once the other side is hit, they will become weak, and you could do whatever you want with them. He was not assured, so he gave her a few more warnings. Chen Ning nodded and looked up at him. Mo Chuan, you're truly thoughtful for me. With this, I won't need to practice internal energy anymore. No, this thing is only a hidden weapon. It can only be used to defend oneself. If the opponent knows that you have such a hidden weapon, he will use a sword to cut it in advance. What will you do then? So when you come back, you have to honestly cultivate for me. There's also this ring. There's a small bead that can be turned. It's hollow inside, and there's a powder inside. If you meet an enemy you can't beat, you can sprinkle the powder on their food or drink. This is a very strong powder. It can make the other side lose consciousness in half a cup of tea's time. Mo Chuan took out an East Pearl ring and put it on her finger. She played with the ring for a bit before looking through the large bag. She said with a smile, Mo Chuan, you're like a treasure chest. Let me see what kind of good things are inside this large bag. As soon as the bundle was opened, she was startled. Chapter 1026. Chen Ning looked at the thick and thin cloaks. There were fur and gauze cloaks, and her chin almost dropped. Bring them all. You can't be cold, hungry, or sick on the road. In short, you have to come back without a single hair on your head. Mo Chuan had a serious expression as he looked at her. Chen Ning stuck out her tongue and did not argue with him. It was fine if she brought them. After all, it wasn't her that was carrying these things. It was the horse. All right. I'll bring them all. She tied up the bag. Mo Chuan took out small bottles from a small bag. He told her that this was Jin Chuang medicine. This was bruising ointment. There was also blood clotting powder, bruising pills, and various other kinds, no less than 10. Chen Ning was stunned. Mo Chuan, are you telling me to bring a medicine shop with me? Who knows what kind of danger you'll encounter when you're outside. So you have to bring these medicines with you. It's better to be prepared. Mo Chuan explained the uses of all the bottles to her, making her remember them in her heart. She sighed helplessly. She braced herself and memorized every single word. Mo Chuan, what is this? She finally saw Mo Chuan put all the bottles and ointment into the bag. She was shocked to see him take out a small bag from the large bag. When she opened it this time, there were all kinds of pastries, candies, fruits, and candies inside. Eat them on the road. You might not be used to eating outside, so I brought these back from the royal kitchen. There's a bit of time, so I didn't have time to have them prepare something to your taste, so I'll have to trouble you. Mo Chuan. Chen Ning bit her lips as she looked at him. Was he trying to turn her into a pig? She wanted to laugh, but her heart was filled with a sour feeling. This is silver bills. There's around 2,000 silver coins for you to use on the road. I didn't prepare too many silver bills for you because these things are too eye-catching and can easily attract the attention of the Jianghu's thieves. This is a bag of broken silver. You can use it to pay for meals and find a place to stay. There's also this. Keep it on you. This is a cinnabar seal. You can take out money from any West Chu bank with it. You can take out as much as you want and keep it with you in case you need it. Mo Chuan gave her a bag of money. It was heavy, and there was also a box of silver bills. Finally, he placed a small seal in her palm. Chen Ning held the small seal, and her heart felt warm. She said in a soft voice, "All right, I'll remember it." Also, Mo Chuan thought about it and said, "That divine doctor's temper is very strange. It's fine if you can invite him, but if you can't, I won't allow you to agree to any of his rude requests. If he wants power or money, I can give it to him, but there's one thing that I will never agree to." He looked at her. She nodded. "I know, I understand." She had a smile in her eyes. "What I know." And Mo Chuan thought about it and finally shook his head. "All right, I can only think of this for now. Is there anything else you need to bring?" Mo's lips, chun chun, ning, mo, chun chun go. A soft fragrance filled his nose, and Mo Chuan couldn't help being stunned. He prepared to hug her for a deep kiss, but she slipped away from his embrace like a fish. "Mo Chuan, I'm leaving. You can be assured I will definitely invite the godly doctor back." Chapter 10:27. When the paper window was dyed white by dawn, the door was suddenly pushed open. "Young miss, no matter where you want to go, this servant will go with you." Xiaoru knelt at the door and stubbornly looked at Chen Ning. "Xiaoru, why are you here?" Chen Ning was a little surprised. She walked over to pull her hand, but Xiaoru knelt on the ground, not willing to get up. "Young miss, you said that no matter where you go, you would bring this servant. You said that you would never separate from this servant again. But now that you're leaving, if you don't bring this servant with you, this servant will kneel here for the rest of my life." Xiaoru said with tears in her eyes. Chen Ning hesitated for a bit. "I need to do something, so it's not convenient to bring you. Obediently stay here and wait for me to come back. Be obedient. This servant understands." "Young miss, you think this servant is stupid, right?" Xiaoru blinked her eyes, and tears began to fall. "Silly girl, I'm not saying you're stupid. It's just that the road will be very hard. This servant is not afraid of hard work. Young miss, this servant is not afraid of danger. This servant wants to be with you. So I beg you, please bring me with you. This servant can also take care of your food and daily necessities along the way. Although this servant is clumsy, this servant will massage your shoulders, massage your back, and help you wash your face. Eldest miss, you said that no matter where you go, you will not leave this servant behind. Have you forgotten all of this?" Xiaoru knelt on the ground as she sobbed. Chen Ning felt a headache coming on. Her plan did not include Xiaoru. This girl was careless and might cause trouble for her on the road, but she did say that no matter where she went, she would not separate from her. If she went back on her words, wouldn't that hurt Xiaoru's heart? She looked up at Mo Chuan and gave him a look, telling him to reject Xiaoru. She knew that Xiaoru was most afraid of Mo Chuan. As long as Mo Chuan opened his mouth, Xiaoru would not dare say a single word. Who would have thought that Mo Chuan would look at her and say to Xiaoru, "It's fine if you follow, but you have to take good care of Ninger. If she gets sick and loses weight, this one will not forgive you when she comes back." Xiaoru was filled with joy, and her tears turned into smiles. She kowtowed to Mo Chuan and said, "This servant thanks the Emperor. Emperor can be assured, this servant will take good care of the young miss." Chen Ning never thought that Mo Chuan would want her to bring Xiaoru. She was very confused and couldn't help staring at Mo Chuan. What they met danger. She didn't know any martial arts, so she couldn't protect Xiaoru. Zhuai Feng only had 2 arms no matter how strong he was. She was not afraid of danger, but she couldn't bear to let Xiaoru face danger with her. "Ning, it's good to have someone caring for you on this road. Xiaoru has been by your side since you were young, so she understands you better than anyone else. If you keep her in the palace, do you want me to see this girl cry every day?" Ning said with a smile. Mo by Mo, Xiao, Xiao Ning, Ru, Xiao Chun, Xiao to come. Xiao you are you, Xiao she, and, no need, you don't need to bring anything. Everything is already prepared. Chen Ning looked at Mo Chuan and thought of the bag full of clothes. It was enough for her and Xiao Ru to wear for several autumns and winters. It's almost dawn, so you should go. Remember my words. No matter what the result is, you have to come back. Chapter 1028. Chunning forcefully nodded. Actually, it wasn't just him who was unwilling. How could she bear to part with him? But thinking that Chu Xiaobai's life and death was unknown, she raised her chin and pulled her hand back from Imo Chuan's grasp. She revealed a faint smile to him. The sky had just brightened and the city gates had not opened yet, but Zhue Feng held Imo Chuan's token and easily left the capital city. He drove the carriage south. This was a very comfortable carriage, but it looked very normal on the outside. It was no different from the normal carriages on the road, but it was different on the inside. There was a soft couch in the carriage, a small tea table, and 2 embroidered stools. It was like a small but well-equipped room. There was a shelf on the tea table, and there was a teapot on the shelf. It ensured that the tea wouldn't spill out when the carriage was moving, making people admire the ingenuity of the designer. In order to avoid attracting attention, the 3 people in the carriage had all changed their clothes. Now the 3 of them were the young miss, the maid, and the manservant. Zhue Feng sat in the front driving the carriage. He could hear Xiao Ru's excited chatter coming from the carriage behind him, but he rarely heard Chunning's voice. His entire body was stretched taut. Although he was driving the carriage, his ears were perked up, and his eyes were vigilantly looking left and right. Xiao was very excited sitting in the carriage. This was the first time she had left the capital city since she was born, so she felt like her eyes weren't enough. She raised the curtain of the window and stuck her head out to look. She pulled on Chunning's sleeve and asked all sorts of questions. Seeing the farmer farming in the fields, she would let out a cry of surprise, asking why that person was as black as charcoal. Seeing the scarecrow, she suddenly realized something. She said that he stood in the fields all day without moving. No wonder he looked like charcoal. Chunning just leaned against the window and silently looked out. She would occasionally give an unsound in agreement. She finally understood why Imo Chuan wanted her to bring Xiao Ru on the road. With Xiao Ru, this girl who didn't know the worries of the world, accompanying her and chatting with her, her journey would not be boring. She would not have time to feel sad for Chu Xiaobai. Zhue Feng's mood was completely different from hers. He drove the carriage and his cheeks twitched. Hearing Xiao Ru's silly words, he wished he could take off his socks to stuff her chattering mouth. He just couldn't understand. The Empress was such a smart person. How could she have a girl as stupid as a pig by her side? This kind of stupid girl, she would never be able to marry in this life. Who would be willing to marry a stupid pig as a wife? The 3 of them traveled in the morning and stayed at night. They traveled for several days like this, but they didn't encounter anything. For safety, Zhue Feng chose the densely populated official roads. Adding in the fact that the 3 of them were dressed very normally, they did not attract any attention. Chunning knew that Chu Xiaobai's situation was not good. It was hard to say if he could last until she found the divine doctor. So naturally, she hoped that she could go to the divine doctor's place as soon as possible. So on the way, Zhue Feng did not dare to delay for even a moment. Even at noon, he would buy some steamed buns to fill his stomach. Chapter 1029. So on the 3rd day, Xiao Ru's butt hurt so much that she couldn't sit still. Chunning had prepared a thick mattress for her to lie on, but after a while, she climbed up and looked at Chunning with a bitter expression. "Doesn't your butt hurt? Why aren't you lying down?" Chunning felt this was strange. Xiao Ru said with a red face, "My butt hurts sitting down, but lying down makes me uncomfortable here." She used her hand to rub her chest. Chunning was a bit stunned. Looking at her full chest, she couldn't help laughing at her. Xiao Ru was already at the age of marriageable age and had developed well. Lying down on the mattress and with the bumpiness of the carriage, her chest would definitely feel uncomfortable. Zhue Feng is really stupid. He can't even drive a carriage properly. It's really bumpy. Xiao Ru couldn't help complaining. Other than her, but her entire body was sore and her bones felt like they were about to fall apart. Zhui Feng's lips twitched. He was indeed rushing, so he drove the carriage very fast, but the faster the carriage went, the bumpier it would be. He wasn't an immortal. He couldn't make the carriage go fast and steady. This damn stupid girl. Why did she have so many problems? The Empress was sitting in the carriage with her, but she didn't complain at all. All right, it's been hard on you these past few days. We'll find a place to eat lunch today, and then continue on our way. Ning rubbed Xiao Ru's head with a bit of heartache. Zhui Feng, if we pass by any town, stop and we'll rest. She raised her voice and said to the outside of the carriage. Yes, Royal. Miss Huang. Zhui Feng quickly changed the way he called her. Ning said with a faint smile, I'm Miss Chun, not Miss Huang. Yes, Miss Chun. Zhui Feng couldn't help sweating. At noon, Zhui Feng drove the carriage into a town. This town wasn't big or small, but it was densely populated. The streets were bustling with people, and it could be considered lively. Xiaoru couldn't help feeling excited as she looked out the window. She suddenly smelled the fragrance of food in the air, and her stomach began to growl. For the past 3 days, she had barely eaten a warm meal. Every day, she had either steamed buns or steamed buns for lunch. In the morning and evening, she had the candied fruits brought from the palace. Although they were delicious, they couldn't compare to the fragrance of the meat. Eldest miss, why don't we eat in this restaurant? Xiaoru rubbed her stomach as her eyes stared longingly at the grand restaurant. All right, let's go. Ning revealed a smile and ordered Zhui Feng to stop the carriage. Then she and Xiaoru got off the carriage. She stretched her legs and brought Xiaoru into the restaurant. Zhui Feng tied the horse to a nearby tree. The horse had a strong temper, and normal people would not be able to get close. He followed Ning into the restaurant. Ning wanted to go to the private room upstairs, but she was stopped by the waiter at the stairs. When the waiter saw that the 3 of them were dressed in ordinary clothes, his expression became somewhat indifferent. He said that the upper floor was full and asked the 3 of them to sit in the main hall. Ning could see that the waiter was not being sincere with a single glance, but she was not angry. She had seen too many people who looked down on people based on their appearance. If she was angry with this kind of person, she would have already been angry to her heart's content. All right, let's sit downstairs then, she said nonchalantly. Chapter 10:30. Waiter, give us a private room upstairs. How much silver do you want? You can just say it. Zhui Feng took out a 20 silver ingot and threw it into the waiter's arms. This time, not only did the waiter's mouth drop open, even the waiter and the shopkeeper were shocked. Don't look at how ordinary the 3 of them were. Who would have thought that they were god of wealth? Yes, yes, yes. 3 guests, please come upstairs. This restaurant has the best private room. The waiter immediately nodded and bowed. He changed his expression and respectfully led the 3 of them upstairs. Zhui Feng was only thinking about the emperor's last words. No matter what, he couldn't let the empress suffer any grievances. But Ning slightly knit her brows. She looked at the guests eating downstairs and found that there were quite a few people staring at Zhui Feng. This 20 silver ingot was not a small amount. It was enough for a family of 3 to live a well-off life for a year. Zhui Feng taking out 20 silver ingots at once. Naturally, it would attract the attention of others. The so-called not revealing one's wealth would not bring disaster to oneself. The 3 of them entered the private room, and Ning pulled Xiaoru to sit down. Zhui Feng stood on the side and stared at Xiaoru. Did this stupid girl understand the difference in status? She actually dared to sit and eat with the empress. Really, Zhui Feng, you sit down as well. We're outside. There aren't many rules and rules. Ning looked at Zhui Feng. This subordinate does not dare. Miss Chun is this subordinate's master. This subordinate cannot eat with master no matter what. This subordinate will just stand here. Zhui Feng replied. He deliberately spoke in a voice that was not loud or soft, allowing Xiaoru to hear him. After saying this, he looked at Xiaoru from the corner of his eyes. He found that Xiaoru acted like she did not hear his words and was still sitting there arrogantly. His heart was filled with indignation. Ning knew that Zhue Feng was a person that followed the rules. If he said he wouldn't sit, then he wouldn't sit. So she did not force him and had the waiter add another table in the room. "How about you sit at that table?" she said. Zhue Feng finally dared to sit down. "Miss Xiaoru, you can also sit here." He finally couldn't help saying this. "Why do I have to sit over there?" Xiaoru looked at him strangely and raised her nose at him. "I don't like sitting with you. Seeing you, I can't even eat." Her words made Zhue Feng's face turn red. He stared at Xiaoru, unable to say anything. Zhue Feng's face turned red as he stared at Xiaoru, unable to speak. She didn't know where this guy came from, but she remembered that it was this guy who dirted her new dress and scratched her chest. Although he happily compensated her with several thousand silver coins as her dowry, it did not change Xiaoru's bad impression of him. She did not want to see his face, which seemed to be carved out of wood, expressionless. So on the way, she did not say a single word to Zhue Feng. Ning looked at Xiaoru and then at Zhue Feng, feeling a bit of a headache. It was like these two people had a grudge against each other in their previous lives, neither of them pleasing to the eye. If she knew this earlier, she wouldn't have brought the two of them together. Chapter 10:31. Not long after, the dishes were brought out. It was very sumptuous and the fragrance filled the air. Xiaoru's saliva began to flow out as she reached out with her chopsticks to pick up the dishes. Zhue Feng couldn't help giving a cough. "Miss Xiaoru." His eyes revealed a look of dissatisfaction. "What?" Xiaoru glanced at him. "You are a maid. So, as a servant, you should let the master eat first. How can a maid eat before the master even starts eating?" Zhue Feng said in a cold voice. "You." Xiaoru's face instantly turned red. It wasn't that she didn't understand the hierarchy, but she had grown up with Ning, so she treated Ning as her own blood-related older sister. Adding in the fact that Ning had never been polite to her, she would sometimes forget herself. Being criticized by Zhue Feng at this time, her eyes turned red as she felt ashamed. "Xiaoru, bring these dishes over to Zhue Feng. He's been driving the carriage for us, so it's been hard on him. Also, bring this pot of wine over to him." Ning rubbed Xiaoru's hair and gave her a comforting smile. Xiaoru's heart was filled with unwillingness. She picked up the dishes and placed them in front of Zhue Feng. "Many thanks, Miss Chun." Zhue Feng was not polite. He was very hungry, so he grabbed the steam bun. He took a bite of the steam bun and quickly ate it. Xiaoru couldn't help opening her eyes wide as she stared at Zhue Feng. She had never seen a person eat like Zhue Feng before, eating like a whirlwind. The fist-sized steam bun, he ate half of it in a single bite, eating one in 2 bites. That full plate of food was emptied with just a few chopsticks. God, was he the reincarnation of a hungry ghost? Xiaoru's chin almost fell off. Zhue Feng ate 8 steamed buns and 4 plates of food in a single breath. His stomach was slightly bulging, but he didn't touch the pot of wine. Rather, he picked up the teapot and drank it. Wine could make a person lose their vigilance, so he never touched a drop of wine. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, he stood up and stood in a corner with his hands clasped in a solemn manner. "Is there something on my face?" Zhue Feng saw that Xiaoru's eyes were staring at his face, not even eating. His heart was filled with curiosity, but he raised his hand to touch his face a few times, not feeling anything. Then he glared at Xiaoru and ignored her. Xiaoru couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Seeing Zhue Feng eating so happily, she felt even hungrier. "Xiaoru, come and eat. You'll definitely like these dishes." Ning pulled Xiaoru to sit down and picked up some food for her. She secretly laughed in her heart. If it was anyone else being stared at by Xiaoru like this, it would be strange if they could eat. This Zhue Feng was truly strange. After the 3 of them finished eating, they continued on their way. Zhue Feng drove the carriage and quickly left the city. Xiaoru rubbed her bulging stomach as she lay on the carriage with a bitter expression. She didn't want to move at all, because if she moved, she wouldn't be able to stop herself from vomiting. "You gluttonous girl, who told you to eat so much?" Now you know how uncomfortable it is? Chen Ning found this funny and angry as she stared at her. Young miss, this servant saw Zhue Feng eating so happily, and this servant felt very hungry, unknowingly eating too much. Oh! Before she finished speaking, the carriage suddenly jolted. Her face changed, and she almost vomited. Chen Ning quickly patted Xiao Ru's back. Zhue Feng, slow down. Xiao Ru ate too much, and her stomach isn't feeling well, so she can't stand the jolting. She raised her voice as she spoke. Chapter 1032. Oh! Chen Ning's eyes flashed, and she opened the curtain at the back of the carriage. Looking back, she found that there were 4 horses following their carriage at a moderate speed, and there were several men dressed in Jianghu attire sitting on the horses. She remembered the appearance of these 4 people. She had seen them in the restaurant before, and the 4 of them were sitting at a table drinking and eating. When Zhue Feng threw the silver to the waiter, she saw the greedy look in their eyes. Xiaoru also sat up and saw the 4 strong-looking men. They all had a fierce appearance and weapons on their waists, causing her face to turn white. She did not care about her stomach as she opened the curtain and shouted at Zhue Feng. Quickly, 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 quickly drive the carriage. Don't worry about me. We can't let these bad people catch up to our carriage. Zhue Feng acted like he did not hear anything as he continued to drive the horse forward, not even looking at her. Xiao Ru's face turned red with anger as she shouted, "Are you deaf? Quickly drive the carriage. If the young miss falls into the hands of these bad people, I will risk my life with you. It's all your fault. The young miss always said that money shouldn't be shown, but you just had to show off your power in this restaurant and show off. Now it's great. You've caused a large problem, and you're not in a hurry. If you don't drive, I'll drive." The more she spoke, the angrier she became. Seeing that Zhue Feng was not moving at all, she turned around and saw that the 4 horses were getting slower and slower. She gritted her teeth and charged over to take the whip from Zhue Feng's hand. "Sit down obediently for me." Zhue Feng shouted in a deep voice as he turned around to look at Xiao Ru with cold eyes. Xiao Ru was scared by his eyes. She was not afraid of him. "What are you being so fierce for? You have the skills to be fierce to me, but you don't have the skills to deal with these bad people. Her fingers had just touched the whip when she suddenly felt a strong force coming from the whip. She couldn't stand still, but fell onto the floor of the carriage. It was so painful that tears came out of her eyes. She pointed at Zhue Feng and was prepared to curse at him. Xiaoru, Chen Ning stopped her. Of course, she knew that the 4 people behind her did not have good intentions, but her face was still calm. "Zhue Feng, can you deal with these 4 tails?" Hey, with their skills, even if there were 10 of them, this subordinate would still be enough to deal with them. Zhue Feng proudly said. Xiaoru rolled her eyes at him and gave a snort. "Stop boasting. 10 times is 40. If they really had 40 people, wouldn't you have already been scared to the ground?" Zhue Feng directly turned his head and did not say anything, pretending he was deaf. Chen Ning smiled and said, "Xiaoru, your calculations are really good. You actually know that 10 times 4 is 40. She was afraid that the 2 of them would continue bickering, so she praised Xiaoru to divert her attention. Xiao ran. Chun Xiao was Xiao of Xiao, Xiao Ning, she said. Chun really. Chun you is of Ming. Chun Xiao you really is you or you are? Miss Chun, do you want this subordinate to deal with these 4 fellows now?" Zhue Feng asked. Chen Ning looked at the 4 horses behind her and then at the people and carriages on both sides of the road. She hesitated for a bit. Chapter 1033. The carriage moved forward another 10 miles and arrived at the edge of the forest. There was no one around, and they could hear the sound of horse hooves behind them. The 4 Jianghu men had caught up on their horses and blocked the front of the carriage. Zhue Feng stopped his horse and coldly looked at the 4 of them, not saying a word. One of them raised his voice and said, "This mountain was opened by me, and this tree was planted by me. If we cross this place, I'll give you money for the road." Before that person could finish speaking, he heard a crisp voice. Then, With a chi sound, an object flew out from the carriage and flew towards his face. That person was surprised and happy as he quickly reached out to catch it. Holding it in his hand, he saw that it was a fist-sized stone. He was so angry that his nose became crooked. Daring to play with your master, are you tired of living? That man pulled out a bronze mace from his waist and smashed it down at Zhue Feng's head. He saw that Zhue Feng was wearing a normal servant's clothes. He was as thin as a bamboo pole and didn't have any meat on his body, so how could he place him in his eyes? He thought that this mace would be able to smash Zhue Feng's head open, but he suddenly felt a pain in his wrist like it was broken. With a paw sound, something fell to the ground. The man looked down and saw a bloody broken hand with a bronze mace in it. He was stunned for a while before subconsciously looking at his right hand. He found that there was only a bare wrist left, and he realized that his hand had been separated from his wrist. He instantly let out a pitiful cry, like a pig being slaughtered. The other 3 people were surrounding the carriage. They jumped onto the carriage and pulled down the curtain. Seeing Chen Ning and Xiao Ru inside the carriage, they revealed charming smiles. Our luck is not bad today, meeting 3 fat sheep. The appearances of these 2 girls are even better. Suddenly hearing the man's pitiful cry, they turned around and instantly took a cold breath. The 3 of them shouted out in unison. They pulled out their steel blades and fiercely charged at Zhue Feng. Xiaoru saw the fierce expressions on the men's faces and the shining blades in their hands. She was so scared that her body began to tremble as she hid in the corner. Seeing that one of their blades was about to hit Zhue Feng's head, another person slashed at Zhue Feng's waist, and the third person was even more cunning, actually stomping down at Zhue Feng's feet. Zhue Feng was like a piece of wood, not moving at all, not reacting at all. Xiaoru was very anxious. Zhue Feng, dodge. Quickly dodge. He wants to cut off your head. Her words abruptly stopped because at this time, Zhue Feng suddenly moved. He waved the whip in his hand and wrapped it around a man's neck. With another pull, the man's head and neck were separated. A skull fell to the ground, and the headless body swayed before falling to the ground, creating a cloud of dust. Xiaoru's eyes almost popped out, seeing the decapitated person and the blood splattering all over the ground. She had never seen such a terrifying scene in her life. She was so scared that her hands and feet turned soft. She looked at Zhue Feng like he was a devil from hell. Zhue Feng was very ruthless, not showing any mercy at all. His face was expressionless as the whip in his hand came out again. Another man's head was cut off, and blood began to pour out of his chest. Chapter 1034. How could Zhue Feng allow him to escape? He gently hooked a blade on the ground with his foot, and the blade flew out like a meteor at the escaping man. With a pitiful cry, the blade pierced through the man's back, and the tip of the blade came out of the man's chest. The man's body swayed, and he fell to the ground dead. Of the 4 people, there was only the man with a broken arm left. His face was the color of dirt, and his legs were like sieves as he fell to the ground. Good man, spare me. Don't kill me. As soon as his voice fell, Zhue Feng's right hand came out and grabbed his throat. With a soft exploding sound, the man's eyes popped out and he died. Zhue Feng could smell a stench coming from the man's body. When he died, he had pissed himself. He knit his brows and kicked out, sending the man's body flying far away like a rag bag. You! How can you be this vicious? They just wanted to steal money, but you took their lives as soon as you made a move. You are even more terrifying than a demon. Xiaoru stared at Zhue Feng and then looked at the 4 corpses on the ground. They were still bleeding, and the soil on the ground was dyed red with blood. Her heart tightened. Even if she knew that these 4 people were not good people, seeing them die this miserably, she couldn't help feeling hate and fear towards Zhue Feng. Zhue Feng's expression did not change. As the emperor's secret guard, he had encountered many dangers. Killing these trivial people was as easy as eating tofu. He even thought that these 4 people were rookies and were not worth him making a move. His motto was to be 10 times fiercer than his enemies. If one came, he would kill one. If two came, he would kill two. There were countless people that had died under his hands over the years, and there were many who had died more miserably than this. He looked at Xiao Ru with a cold gaze like he was making a mountain out of a molehill. Then he raised the horse whip that was covered in blood and slapped the horse's butt. Go! The carriage did not even have time to move before there was the sound of a putong heavy object falling to the ground. A linen bag had fallen off the back of the four men's horses. It was currently wriggling like there was something alive inside. Oh, what is that? Xiaoru let out a surprised cry. Zhui Feng's eyes narrowed, and he was too lazy to care. No matter what it was, it had nothing to do with him. His mission was to protect the Empress, so he did not want any trouble. He waved the whip again and prepared to drive the carriage. Wait a minute. Chen Ning heard a low woo-woo sound coming from the bag. It sounded like a human's voice. Feng, there's someone in that bag. Zhui Feng said. He replied faintly, but remained seated in the carriage without moving. There's someone? That must be a good guy who was kidnapped by the four bad guys. I'll go save him. Xiaoru was filled with anger when she saw Zhui Feng's indifferent appearance. She did not wait for Chen Ning to speak and jumped off the carriage. She ran over to the sack and untied the knot on it. Miss Chen, it's more important for us to hurry on with our journey. Shouldn't we not care about unrelated people and matters? Zhui Feng hesitated a bit before finally saying this. All right, Chen Ning nodded. Once Xiao Ru releases that person, we'll continue on our way. Chun. However, that person's appearance caused the three of them to be stunned. Chapter 1035. Xiaoru quickly took out the cloth from the little boy's mouth and then untied the ropes on his body. Yeah, whose family are you? Why are you tied up like this? You're really pitiful. The little boy was so cute that she had a good impression of him the moment she saw him. Woo, woo, woo. Elder sister, save me. Those four bad people are bad. They lied to me and said they would take me to find my father and mother. In the end, they tied me up and placed me in a sack. I'm so scared. The boy's hands and feet were untied. He threw himself into Xiao Ru's embrace and began to sob. Don't cry, and don't be afraid. Those four bad people are dead. They won't harm you anymore. What's your name? Where do you live? Elder sister will send you home. All right? Xiaoru had never dealt with a child this young before. Being hugged and crying by the little boy, her heart turned soft like cotton. She wished she could kiss the little boy's chubby white face. The little boy's tears turned into a smile. Elder sister, you're really good. His childish voice saying elder sister made Xiaoru's heart itch. She pulled the boy up and helped him pat off the dirt on his body before pulling him to the front of the carriage. Eldest miss, let's send this young master back, okay? Look at how young he is, being kidnapped by bad people. Isn't that pitiful? Before Chen Ning could say anything, Zhui Feng coldly spoke up. You can't. Why can't you? It was like Xiao Ru's tail had been stung by something as she angrily glared at Zhui Feng. Why don't you have any sympathy at all? You kill people just because you say you want to. Your heart is this vicious. Don't you see how pitiful this young master is? Zhui Feng coldly looked at the boy. The little boy was stared at by his cold eyes and couldn't help shivering. He hid behind Xiao Ru, and his little hand grabbed the corner of Xiao Ru's clothes as he said in a soft voice, Elder sister, I'm scared. This person is very fierce, even fiercer than those four bad people. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. With me here, he won't dare bully you. Xiao Ru quickly pulled his hand and comforted him. Young miss, let's send this young master home, all right? She looked up and looked at Chen Ning with a pleading look on her face. Chen Ning's eyes fell onto the little boy's face, and she gave a gentle smile. What's your name? Where do you live? How old are you this year? The boy popped his head out from behind Xiao Ru. When he saw Chen Ning, his large eyes lit up and his round face revealed a smile. Elder sister, you are so beautiful. You are even more beautiful than the elder sister who saved me. Xiao Ru proudly said, This is my family's young miss. She was the one who found you in the sack, and she was the one who let me save you. Really? Elder sister, when I grow up, will you be my wife? The little boy's eyes lit up, and he forgot his fear of Zhuai Feng. He jumped in front of the carriage and climbed onto the carriage with his short legs, wanting to jump into Chun Ning's embrace. Zhuai Feng reached out and grabbed the boy's collar. He frowned and threw him off the carriage. "Little brat, stay away from my Mississippi. You haven't even grown your hair yet. What do you know about a wife?" Even though this boy was young, he was still a man. He had to protect the empress for his master. No man was allowed to touch even a corner of the emperor's clothes. Chapter 1036. His snow-white little face was covered in sparkling tears. He cried until Xiao Ru's heart turned into water. She came forward to hug the little boy and coaxed, "Little master, don't cry, don't cry. He is a bad person, so let's ignore him. My family's young miss is a good person, so tell my family's young miss where you live. We'll send you home." When the little boy heard this, his tears turned into a smile. He reached out his arms to hug Xiao Ru's neck. "All right, elder sister, carry me into the carriage. I'm afraid of that bad person. He will throw me down again. Maiba will be in so much pain." Xiao Ru picked up the boy and found it a bit difficult. She said in a strange voice, "Why are you so heavy?" The boy's lips turned flat like he was about to cry. "Elder sister, are you thinking I'm fat?" "Woo-woo, I just eat a lot." "Good, don't cry. I'm not thinking you're fat. You're just too cute." Xiao Ru carried him into the carriage and couldn't help pinching his fat white cheeks. She saw that Zhuai Feng was about to reach out again, so she quickly protected the little boy behind her and glared at Zhuai Feng. "You're bullying a little child. Aren't you ashamed?" Zhuai Feng said with a cold face. "We have to hurry, so we can't send him home. If we leave him here, there will naturally be someone who will send him home." "What do you mean? You're saying I'm meddling?" You're really cold-blooded. You don't have a single bit of humanity. Young miss, say something and we'll send this little master home. There isn't a single person here, so if we don't care about him and leave him here, what if a wild beast comes from the forest and eats him? Since we've saved him, we have to do a good deed to the end. Young miss, don't you think so? Xiao Ru pulled Chun Ning's sleeve and stared at her. Chun Ning said with a smile, "Even if we send him home, we still need to know where his home is. Little master, do you still remember your name and where you live?" The little boy blinked his eyes. His innocent appearance was very cute, and Xiao Ru couldn't help pinching his cheeks again. "My mother calls me Xiao Bao, so elder sister should also call me Xiao Bao. Home. My home is in the city, and I have a very, very large house. There's a very, very large sweet-scented osmanthus tree in the yard. That's right, there's also a pond in my house with a lot of golden carps that are very beautiful. Pretty elder sister, if you send me home, I'll give you all of my carps, all right?" Xiao Bao said this as his dark eyes turned. He wanted to jump into Chun Ning's embrace. He wanted to throw himself into Chun Ning again. Zhuai Feng gave a cough. His mouth flattened, and with a sudden wah, he burst into tears again. "Xiao Bao misses mom. Xiao Bao misses dad. Xiao Bao misses home. I just wanted to sneak out to buy candied haws to eat, but these 4 bad guys said they would send me home. In the end, they tied me up with ropes and gagged my mouth. It's so scary." "Are you guys bad guys too?" "Xiao and Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao, don't cry, don't cry. We aren't bad people and won't tie you up. My family's young miss is the best. She will definitely send you home." Xiao Ru's heart melted. She took out a handkerchief to wipe his tears and comforted him while hugging him. "Xiao Ru, do you know where his home is?" Chun Ning asked. Chapter 1037. Zhuai Feng gave a cold snort. "Humph, it's easy for you to say. Do you know which city his home is in? What's the name of the house?" "An osmanthus tree and a pond. Which family doesn't have these 2 things?" Xiao Ru was stunned and couldn't answer a single word. I... She was stunned. "Elder sister Xiao Ru, you said you would send Xiao Bao home. You said it. You can't go back on your words, woo-woo." Xiao Bao's crying became louder in Xiao Ru's arms as his shoulders trembled. Xiao Ru's head became 2 heads. "Xiao Bao, don't cry. Elder sister will definitely send you home." Although she said this, where was this little boy's home? Xiao Ru's eyes were filled with confusion. Young miss, what do we do? He's too young. He doesn't even know where his home is. How do we send him home? Chen Ning's lips slightly curled, and she said with a smile, I don't know what to do. You want to save him, so think of a way yourself. Zhu Feng said in a cold voice, now you know you've saved a large problem. Xiao Bao is not a large problem. Xiao Ru glared at Zhu Feng and then coaxed the little boy in her arms. Xiao Bao, think again. Which city is your home in? What's the name of that city? Also, what's the name of your house? If you say it clearly, elder sister will immediately send you home. Xiao Bao blinked his eyes. He had a confused look on his face as he shook his head. A city is a city. Are there many cities? The house is my home. Elder sister, your words are very strange. Xiao Bao doesn't understand. Xiao Ru anxiously pulled at her hair. She could only ask Chen Ning for help. Young miss, think of a way. You're so smart. You must have a way. Chen Ning shook her head and said, I'm not an immortal from the heavens. I can calculate everything. How about this? We'll bring him along first. After we're done here, we'll think of a way to help him find his family. She said to Xiao Bao with a faint smile, Xiao Bao, we have something important to do right now, so we can't immediately send you home. Are you willing to come with us first? Xiao Bao is willing. Xiao Bao immediately stopped crying. He used the back of his hand to wipe his tears and snot, smearing Xiao Ru's clothes. Xiao Ru's face instantly turned into a bitter gourd. Miss Chun, are we really going to take this kid with us? Zhu Feng stared at Xiao Bao in disbelief, his stomach full of unwillingness. Where did this little wimpy brat come from? Well, he's all alone and pitiful. If we don't take him with us, are we going to leave him here? Just like little Ru said, if he met a bad person or some wild beast, it wouldn't be good if he was eaten. Since we saved him, we should do good deeds to the end. Chen Ning said with a faint expression. She raised her eyebrows. Zhu Feng, do you have any objections? Zhu Bao. Zhu Feng loudly shouted in his heart, but he raised his whip and stared at Xiao Ru. Get on the carriage. The more he looked at Xiao Ru, the more displeased he was. This girl was simply a troublemaker. She didn't have any skills, but she just liked to cause trouble. Shouted too. Xiao Bao, Xiao Bao, he, and climbed onto the carriage. Xiao Bao, try this 1,000-layer cake. It's fragrant, soft, and sweet. You'll definitely like it. There's also this plum blossom cake. You've probably never eaten it before. Come, have a piece. Xiao Ru opened her bag and took out a pile of cakes and candied fruits. Placing them on the table, she gave them to Xiao Bao like she was presenting a treasure. Chapter 1038. You don't like sweet things? Then try this salty pastry. It's thin and crispy. It's my young miss favorite. Xiao Ru took out several desserts for him, but Xiao Bao still shook his head and refused to eat them. If you don't like desserts, there's also pine nut candy and rice dumplings. You don't want any? Then how about some candied fruits? This pear meat is my favorite. Do you want to try one? Xiao Ru's patience was very good, but no matter what she took out or how she softly coaxed him, Xiao Bao was not interested at all. You don't want any of this or that. What do you like to eat? Tell elder sister, and I'll go buy it for you. Xiao Ru was not angry and continued to speak with a smile. Xiao Bao's mouth flattened, and he began to sob. I don't want to eat anything. I miss my mother. I miss my father. I want to go home. Seeing him cry, Xiao Ru's heart softened. She quickly pulled him into her embrace and patted his back. She coaxed, good Xiao Bao, don't cry. Once my young miss finishes her business, I'll immediately send you home to see your father and mother. All right? Xiao Bao blinked his eyes and said, but that person outside is very fierce. He's even fiercer than those 4 bad people. Xiao Bao is afraid that he will hit me and scold me. With elder sister here, he definitely won't dare hit you or scold you. Xiao Bao, don't cry. My young miss really knows how to tell stories. She'll tell you a story and you won't cry, all right? All right. Xiao Bao loves listening to stories. Xiao Bao's tears immediately turned into a smile. His 2 large eyes filled with tears as he looked at Chen Ning. Chen Ning smiled and said, All right, then I'll tell you a story. Chun Ning revealed a faint smile and said, All right, then I'll tell you a story. There was an old mister who was traveling and met a wolf. The wolf was being chased by a hunter and begged the old mister to save its life. The old mister pitied the wolf and placed it in a sack. When the hunter came, he asked the old mister if he had seen a wolf. The old mister shook his head, and the hunter continued to chase. When the hunter left, the old mister opened the sack and let the wolf out. Then the wolf said that it would repay the old mister. Can you guess how the wolf repaid the old mister? Xiao Ru and Xiao Bao listened attentively. Xiao Bao blinked and did not say anything. Xiao Ru quickly said, That wolf must have given the old mister a lot of treasures, right? Chun Ning shook her head with a smile and said, After the wolf gratefully said those words to the old mister, it opened its mouth and ate the old mister into its stomach. Ah! Xiao Ru let out an angry cry. This wolf really has no conscience. Old mister saved it, but it ate your savior. Chun Ning nodded. That's right, this wolf doesn't have a conscience, but it is still a beast. It can only blame the old mister for not knowing if he was saving a human or a beast. So, Xiao Ru, when you want to save someone in the future, you have to open your eyes wide. Don't save an ungrateful wolf and end up becoming a snack in the wolf's stomach. Xiao 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 shi. Xiao 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 xiao. Xiao ti xiao xiao xiao. Xiao 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 xiao. Xiao 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 xiao. Xiao 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 xiao. Xiao and xiao 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 ti. Xiao Bao unknowingly drank 2 mouthfuls and blinked as he said, Beautiful sister, Sister Xiao Ru, Xiao Bao is not an ungrateful person. You saved me, so I will definitely repay you. Ha ha. Xiao Ru laughed as she rubbed her stomach. After rubbing her stomach, she rubbed Xiao Bao's head. Chapter 1039. Chun Ning pursed her lips into a smile and said, That's right. This is a story. It can't be real. She revealed a faint smile as she looked at Xiao Bao. You still haven't told us, how old are you this year? Xiao Bao's eyes rolled around. 5. No, 6 years old. Chun Ning smiled as she rubbed his head, but she did not say anything. Xiao Ru took in a cold breath as she looked at Xiao Bao with a strange gaze. Elder sister, is there anything on Xiao Bao's face? Xiao Bao touched his face in confusion. Xiao Bao, why are you lying? Xiao Ru blurted out. When did I lie? Xiao Bao immediately said. He couldn't help blinking his eyes again. You are lying? When you spoke, your eyes moved to the upper right. Eldest Miss once told me that when people are telling the truth, they will look straight at the other party, and their eyes will not move randomly. But when people are lying, they will involuntarily move their eyes to the upper right. I saw it very clearly just now. You were lying. Xiao Ru angrily looked at Xiao Bao. You're still this young, and you're already learning to lie. This habit is not good at all. Xiao Bao suddenly revealed a smile. Elder sister Xiao Ru, you're so smart. Beautiful elder sister, you're even smarter. I was just casually telling a lie, and it was seen through by you guys. You guys are truly amazing. Xiao Ru stared at him in a daze. She suddenly felt that something was different about him. She couldn't help moving closer to Chun Ning. Xiao Bao was still smiling as he blinked at Xiao Ru. Elder sister Xiao Ru, your body is so fragrant. Xiao Bao wants you to hug me. He opened his arms and threw himself into Xiao Ru's embrace. Xiao Ru gave a frightened scream and jumped up. Why do you seem like you've grown up? Her voice trembled. Xiao Bao stopped and stuck out his little chest. With a smile, he said, Elder sister Xiao Ru, your eyes are really good. Xiao Ru found that he really had grown a bit taller. Even his facial features seemed to have grown a bit. His face that was round like a cute bun had now become delicate, as if he was 7-8 years old. What happened? Zhue Feng heard Xiao Ru's scream and charged into the carriage. Before he could even stabilize himself, he suddenly felt his chest go numb and he couldn't move at all. He lowered his eyes, only to see Xiao Bao's right fist hit precisely on the Shanzhong acupoint on his chest. Xiao Bao, what are you doing? Xiao Ru screamed, and she wanted to charge over, but was stopped by Zhue Feng. Chen Ning softly said, "You still can't see? The one we saved is just a thankless wolf. Ungrateful foam. Young miss, you're saying that he will harm us?" Xiao Ru's eyes popped out in shock. Xiao Bao Ning Ning. Zhui Feng has already been restrained by him. What do you think he will do to us next? Chen Ning angrily glared at Xiao Ru. Xiao Bao. Xiao Ao. Xiao Ning said. Xiao Bao. Take a closer look. Is he really a child? Chen Ning gave a cold laugh. Xiao Bao giggled and shook his shoulders. A burst of crackling sound was heard from his bones, and he grew a bit taller. Beautiful elder sister's eyes are better. It's a pity that you found out too late. He smiled as he winked at Chen Ning. Who are you? Why are you lying to us? You. What do you want to do? Chapter 1040. If you want money, we'll give you money. Take the money and leave. Xiao Ru said in a trembling voice. It was strange. Although Xiao Bao had grown a bit, he still looked like a 10-year-old child. She was still taller than him by quite a bit, but she didn't know why. But Xiao Ru felt that Xiao Bao's eyes were filled with an indescribable evil intent. When he stared at her, it was like a hungry wolf staring at its prey. Her body couldn't help trembling, and her heart filled with a chill. Money? Who wants that kind of thing? It's smelly and hard. Xiao Bao smiled as he took 2 steps forward and pointed at Chen Ning. I want this beautiful elder sister's life. He smiled as he slowly said this. You. Xiao Ru was so shocked that she couldn't say anything. She finally managed to say, Why? Does my family's young miss not have any grudges with you? Why would you? How could there be so many whys? Beautiful elder sister, how do you want to die? Seeing that you're so pretty, I can give you 2 choices. One is for me to cut off your pretty head, and the other is for you to drink this medicine. You'll die without any pain. You should choose the second option. For a beauty like you, it would be a pity if you lost your head. Xiao Bao took out a small medicine bottle and threw on the ground. His smile was still very innocent and cute, but the words he said were very sinister and sinister. Xiao Ru's hair stood on end hearing this. You're not human. You're a demon. Little demon. Xiao Ru screamed out. Little demon? That's not a bad name. I like it. Xiao Bao tilted his head and revealed a harmless smile. But in Xiao Ru's eyes, his smile was even more terrifying than a demon's. Young miss, quickly run. I'll hold him back. Quickly run. Xiao Ru gathered all the courage in her body and threw herself at Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao gently dodged, and with a hook with his right foot, Xiao Ru fell to the ground. She reached out with her hands and tightly grabbed onto Xiao Bao's leg. Young miss, quickly run, quickly run. Run? Beautiful elder sister, do you think you can run? Xiao Bao allowed Xiao Ru to hug his leg and tilted his head to look at Chen Ning with a smile. Chen Ning stood in the same spot without moving. Her face was still very calm, and there was not a single trace of panic on her face. Elder sister, you don't seem afraid at all? Is it because Xiao Bao is so cute that he won't kill me? Xiao Bao, Xiao Bao, he smiled as he winked at Chen Ning and said, Elder sister, if you don't want to take the medicine, then I won't be polite. I will use this steel wire to strangle your neck, and as long as I use a bit of strength, your pretty head will fall off your neck. You will die the same way as those 4 dead dogs outside. Do you like this kind of death? Chen Ning smiled as she looked at Chen Ning. Although Xiao Ru was holding onto his leg, he didn't seem to be affected at all when he walked. He still had the height of a 7 or 8-year-old child, but his strength was surprisingly strong. Xiao Ru couldn't hold on to him no matter how hard she tried. I beg you, please let go of my young miss. If you want to kill me, I'll give you my head. Xiao Bao, don't hurt my young miss, I beg you. Chapter 1041. Chen Ning stared at Xiao Bao and looked him up and down. Bone shrinking art? Xiao Bao was a little surprised, but then he smiled. Pretty elder sister knows quite a bit, but the more you know, the less likely you are to live. He had the innocent smile of a child on his face, but his eyes were filled with a cold glow that was like a blade, filled with killing intent. Chen Ning just stood there calmly, not showing any fear at all. Xiao Bao was stunned again. His eyes revealed an expression like a cat chasing a mouse. He deliberately slowed down his steps and walked over to Chen Ning. "Young miss, quickly run." Xiaoru saw Xiao Bao come closer and closer. The steel wire in his hand was pulled taut, and her heart was about to jump out. Her voice suddenly stopped, because suddenly she saw a silver light flash in front of her. It was like a rain of flowers falling from the sky. Chi, chi, chi. The sound of silver needles stabbing into flesh could be heard. Ah! Xiao Bao revealed a shocked expression and then let out a long, pitiful cry. He fell to the ground and rolled around. Xiaoru did not know what had happened at all. How did the murderous Xiao Bao suddenly turn into meat on the chopping block? She climbed up from the ground and stared blankly. Chen Ning smiled as she took a step forward. She stretched out her right foot and gently kicked Xiao Bao's shoulder. Xiao Bao let out an even more pitiful cry. White-eyed wolf. Does the feeling of a peacock spreading its tail feel good? She smiled as she looked at Xiao Bao on the ground. There was no sympathy in her eyes at all. Xiao Bao's eyes turned white from the pain. His teeth bit his lips, but he could not say anything. He still looked like a 7- or 8-year-old child. But in Xiao Ru's eyes, he was no longer that cute little boy, but rather a sinister little devil. She did not feel pity for him at all. "You white-eyed wolf, we saved you, but you want to kill our young miss. You're not a human, you're a beast." Xiao Ru charged over and forcefully slapped his face. "Kill me, kill me." Xiao Bao gritted his teeth and squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. "Speak, who are you? Why do you want to harm our young miss?" Xiao Ru shouted. "Xiao Ru, there's no need to ask. He won't tell you even if you ask." Chen Ning softly said. Her eyes fell onto the teacup. "Strange. I clearly gave him some medicinal tea. So why didn't it have any effect? It's a good thing this peacock's spreading tail is very strong." Xiao Ru was stunned for a moment before she reacted. "Young miss, do you know this white-eyed wolf isn't a good person? Did you already give him the medicine? Did you purposely tell him that story about the ingrate?" Chen Ning giggled and said, "That's right. Could it be that you think this master isn't as good as this disciple? This servant is stupid. This servant should have thought of this earlier. If even I can see it, then eldest miss, you must have seen it long ago. This little ingrate has been lying to us from the beginning, right?" Xiao asked in a Xiao Bao, Xiao Bao, Xiao Bao. Chapter 1042. Xiaoru was suddenly enlightened. She forcefully patted her head. "This servant is really stupid. I couldn't see through it at all." Chen Ning then said, after getting on the carriage, "You gave him a lot of candied fruits to eat, but he didn't eat a single one. This made me even more suspicious. What child doesn't like eating candies and snacks?" I paid attention to him and found that his eyes were always looking at me. He didn't seem to be drooling over the candies at all. How was that the eyes of a child? So, I knew that this little white-eyed wolf wasn't simple. So, I gave him a cup of medicinal tea. I never thought that it wouldn't work. So Zhue Feng was also wronged. Zhue Feng's acupuncture point had been sealed, and he couldn't move, but his eyes and ears could still see and hear clearly. When he saw Xiao Bao trying to kill Chen Ning, he was so anxious that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He was cursing Xiao Ru in his heart. If he could move his hands and feet, the first person he would kill would be that little white-eyed wolf, and the second would be Xiao Ru. Even now, he was still using a fierce gaze to stare at Xiao Ru as he panted heavily. But Xiao Ru didn't notice him at all. "Missy, what is this peacock spreading its tail? It's so strong. This servant didn't see you make a move. So how did these needles suddenly land on that little white-eyed wolf's body? Ha, ha. That white-eyed wolf turned into a hornet's nest. How interesting." Xiao Ru clapped her hands and laughed. It's a secret for now." Chen Ning smiled and looked down at Xiao Bao on the ground. Xiao Bao's face turned green and purple. Hearing Chen Ning and her servant teasing him, his lungs were about to explode from anger. "White-eyed wolf, Are you feeling very uncomfortable right now that you can't die even if you want to? Chen Ning suddenly said. Xiao Bao bit his lips and did not say a word as he tightly closed his eyes. He really couldn't die even if he wanted to. If he still had strength left in his body, he would definitely bite the poison pill in his mouth to commit suicide, but he didn't even have that bit of strength left. Just now, when the peacock spread its tail, he was not prepared at all. The large cluster of silver needles had pierced his body at least 10 times, and each needle was fed with a special medicine. It made him feel pain, itch, and powerless. He could not live, but he could not die. Although you want my head, I don't want your head. I won't let you die, Chen Ning slowly said. Xiao Bao suddenly felt his body go numb. He opened his eyes and saw the smile on Chen Ning's face. He did not know why, but his heart suddenly felt a chill. What are you going to do to me? He struggled to say these words. Of course I won't do anything to you, but wouldn't it be too easy for you to just let you go like this? So, I will give you an unforgettable lesson. In the future, don't pretend to be a child to deceive people. This is not a good habit, understand? Chen Ning giggled as she spoke in a tone like she was coaxing a child. She even bent down and patted his head. The chill in Xiao Bao's heart grew heavier. He had never been afraid of anything, but for some reason, when he saw the young woman's flower-like smile, he suddenly felt that she was terrifying. Xiao Bao, be good, don't be afraid. It's not like I'll kill you or scold you, hee. Chen Ning smiled as she stood up. Xiao Bao couldn't help shivering again. He stared straight at Chen Ning and hissed. What exactly do you want? Chen Ning blinked her eyes. Chapter 1043. Chen Ning's words stunned Xiao Bao and Xiao Ru. Xiao Ru was very obedient. She quickly followed Chen Ning's orders to take off Xiao Bao's clothes. Xiao Bao was completely stunned. He did not dare believe his ears as he stared at Chen Ning. It wasn't until Xiao Ru took off his clothes, revealing his white skin and the wind blew against his chest, that he realized what had happened. God, he would rather die than suffer this kind of humiliation. Chen Ning calmly looked at him. Seeing his instantly blushing face, she began to chuckle. I can't tell, this little white-eyed wolf still has a bit of shame. Look at how red his face is. It's just taking off your clothes. What is there to be embarrassed about? Could it be that when you came out of your mother's womb, you were also wearing clothes? I'm going to kill you. Xiao Bao gritted his teeth. Next time, you won't have a chance this time. Chen Ning gave an uncaring smile. She said to Xiao Ru, keep taking off. Yes, young miss. Xiao Ru wanted to take off his pants again. He was just a little boy, so she had nothing to be embarrassed about, so her actions were very quick. I won't let you go. You, just wait to die under my hands. I definitely won't let you die comfortably. I will use the most vicious method in the world to torture you. I will. Xiao Bao saw Xiao Ru's hands taking off his pants, and his entire body felt bad. His delicate and cute face turned as red as a purple eggplant, and his eyes popped out as he cursed out. Xiao Ru, his mouth is dirty. Use a sock to stuff it in his mouth. Chen Ning said again. Yes, young miss. Xiao Ru held back her laughter. She picked up the sock she had just taken off and prepared to stuff it in Xiao Bao's mouth. Xiao Bao was so angry that his stomach was about to burst. He stared right at Chen Ning, wishing his eyes could pierce a hole through her face. Chen Ning smiled at him and then said, Wait a minute. Use Zhui Feng's sock. Why? Xiao Ru revealed a look of confusion. Wu, the smell is quite strong. Chen Ning said while holding back her laughter. Zhui Feng's face also turned as red as a purple eggplant. His face turned red as he watched Xiao Ru walk beside him. She took off his shoes and then his socks. What kind of smell is this? Zhui Feng, how long has it been since you last washed your feet? Wu, young miss, I'm going to vomit. Xiao Ru only took off one of Zhui Feng's socks before she turned her head. Zhui Feng couldn't take it and turned. He really couldn't remember how long it had been since he last washed his feet. He had been brewing medicine in Dr. Zhang's palace and guarding Chu Xiaobai. Not to mention his feet, he hadn't even taken a bath. All right, shove it into that ungrateful wolf's mouth. Chen Ning also held her breath. Xiao Bao's eyes almost popped out as he watched Xiao Ru walk over with the sock in her hand. He wanted to curse out, but Xiao Tao suddenly shoved the sock into his mouth. Xiao Ru's eyes widened as she looked at Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao's rouse, Si Ming Feng said. Long, and his Xiao Ru, Xiao Ming, in his face. Xiao Bao, Ling Ling, Chun Ling, said Ling's Ling. Xiao Ru moved quickly, and in the blink of an eye, Xiao Bao was only left with his underwear. Xiao Bao RS. Although the other side looked like a 7 or 8-year-old boy, Xiao Ru still felt a bit embarrassed. This servant. Xiao Ru's face turned red. Chapter 1044. After Zhue Feng's acupuncture point was sealed, he had been secretly using his internal energy to open his acupuncture point. As a secret guard, he had a method to open his own acupuncture point. Last time he had been ambushed by Chu Xiao Bai, he had opened his own acupuncture point. Seeing Zhue Feng regain his freedom of movement, Chun Ning and Xiao Ru let out a sigh of relief. But then, Xiao Ru let out a long cry of surprise as she covered her face with her hands. Although Xiao Bao was young, he was still a boy. Seeing a naked body in front of her, she was too embarrassed to look at it. Chun Ning giggled as she looked at Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao's mouth was gagged, and he couldn't say a word. His body turned cold, especially when he saw Chun Ning's eyes moving over his body. He wanted to die from shame. But when he saw Chun Ning's evil expression, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Damn, she wouldn't want to turn him into a eunuch, right? If it really was like this, he would rather die. Woo, 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 woo. He desperately twisted his body as he let out an angry and fearful sound. He heard Chun Ning say with a faint smile, Zhue Feng, bring the carriage to a place with a lot of people and hang this naked little white-eyed wolf on a tree. Let the people passing by see this white-eyed wolf's naked appearance. What? No, he didn't want it. Xiao Bao's eyes suddenly popped out as his eyes filled with fear. Zhue Feng was also a bit surprised. According to his intentions, he wanted to take this brat's dog life with a single slash, but seeing that the Empress didn't have any intentions of killing him, he couldn't say it. However, thinking about it, the Empress' move was even worse than taking this brat's life. Yes, Miss Chun, there's a town in front of us. Can this subordinate hang him on the city gates? Zhue Feng thought about it and then added a sentence. Very good, Zhue Feng. Your mind is becoming more and more flexible. Chun Ning smiled as she praised him. Xiao Bao's eyes turned white when he heard this, and he almost fainted. Let me die. Let me die. I would rather die than be humiliated like this. He angrily roared out in his heart. It was a pity that the 3 people in the carriage could not hear him. A snow-white and smooth body was hung high above the city gate where people were coming and going. Xiao Bao had already fainted from anger. He didn't even know how he ended up there. However, when he woke up in a daze, he heard incessant discussions around him. TSK. Public morals are degenerating day by day. Nowadays, even children have become shameless. Isn't that so? Look at his fair skin. He doesn't look so poor that he can't even afford clothes. He was doing something bad and was stripped naked by someone. TSK. At such a young age, you think I'm going to be a rapist. You're really a disgrace to your family. When little Bao opened his eyes, he saw that the ground below him was densely packed with human heads. All of them were looking up at him. When the wind blew, his body swayed, and his whole body felt cold from head to toe. He suddenly remembered that he had been stripped clean before he fainted. His vision darkened, and he almost fainted again. Help! Put me down! He wanted to scream, but his mouth was stuffed with a sock that was more sour and smellier than a salted fish. He almost vomited when he opened his mouth. Woo, woo, woo. He struggled and twisted like a fish. Chapter 1045. He saw everyone pointing at him with looks of disdain and ridicule, but no one put him down. He was like a stinky salted fish hanging on the city gate, being watched by everyone. From head to toe, there was not a single thing he could hide from. Those strange gazes made him feel ashamed, and he wished he could smash his head against the city gate. He had never encountered such a shameful moment in his life. While he was in this awkward situation where he couldn't live or die, a group of black, clothed men separated the crowd. They walked to the city gate and looked up. It's the young master. God, how did the young master become like this? Quickly put the young master down. The black-clothed men recognized Xiao Bao, who was hanging on the city gate, and their expressions all changed. When Xiao Bao heard the familiar voice of his subordinate, he felt even more ashamed. His eyes turned white, and he fainted again. Whether it was real or fake, in this kind of awkward situation, it was better to faint and not know anything. When Xiao Bao woke up again, the poison needles in his body had already been sucked out by his black-clothed subordinates using magnets. He no longer felt itchy, and his limbs had regained their strength. It seemed like he had taken the antidote. He moved his body and suddenly sat up on the bed, finding that he had returned to a familiar place. He jumped down from the bed and shook his neck. He took a deep breath. He heard the crackling of his bones, and his body that looked like a 7- or 8-year-old child began to change. He slowly became taller and taller, finally turning into a tall and slender young man. His face was like a completely different person. Even if Chun Ning and Xiao Ru saw his face, they would not be able to recognize this enchanting face filled with killing intent. This was the snow-white and cute Xiao Bao. He casually grabbed a piece of clothing and put it on, but he could not get rid of the burning feeling on his face. Although everyone had seen his 7- or 8-year-old body, he still found it hard to bear. "Stinky girl, just you wait. If I can let you die a good death, I'll—" He gritted his teeth and gave a fiendish laugh. Achoo! Achoo! In the carriage, Chun Ning suddenly sneezed twice. She looked out the window with a bit of doubt, but there was no wind at all. Xiaoru quickly took out a cloak and put it on her. "Young miss, why did you hang that little white-eyed wolf on the tree? He's so bad. Why didn't you just kill him? If you let him go like this, wouldn't that be letting him off too easily? If he comes back to take revenge, what would you do?" Xiaoru rubbed her chin and spoke in a puzzled voice. Zhue Feng's hand, that was whipping the carriage, slightly paused, and his ears perked up. He also couldn't understand this logic. On this point, he agreed with Little Ru's idea. It would be better to just directly kill him and end it all. Ning picked up something and gave it to Xiaoru. Ning picked up something to give to Xiaoru. It was a shoe that Xiao Bao was wearing. It had a black upper, and a small cloud was embroidered with dark purple thread on the upper. If Chun Ning hadn't pointed it out, Xiaoru really wouldn't have noticed it. "Xiao Chun, what's so strange about it?" Xiaoru scratched her head, still confused. Chun Ning knew that she did not understand, so she raised her voice and said, "Zhue Feng, come in and look at this." Chapter 1046. Seeing the purple cloud on the shoe, Zhue Feng's pupils suddenly shrank. "Purple Heaven Pavilion," he blurted out. Then he nervously looked left and right, his face filled with caution. "You also know about the Purple Heaven Pavilion?" Chen Ning asked in a curious voice. The first time she heard of this name was from Namu Kuo. The scene of the assassin from the Purple Heaven Pavilion sneaking into the guest house was still fresh in her mind. At that time, she was hiding on the bed and saw the cold glint of the blade and the threatening, killing intent. If it wasn't for Namu Kuo arriving in time, her head would have been separated from her body. She had always thought that the person the Purple Heaven Pavilion was looking for was Namu Kuo and not her. She never would have thought that she would meet someone from the Purple Heaven Pavilion on the way out of the capital. Moreover, their goal was very clear. They wanted her life. This subordinate knows. This subordinate wants to take a look at this shoe again. Zhue Feng swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His body was still tense, and his entire body was in a state of alert. "All right." Chen Ning threw Xiao Bao's shoe to Zhue Feng. Zhue Feng held it in his hand and looked at it for a while. The more he looked, the more serious his expression became. This subordinate can conclude that the person who pretended to be a child to assassinate you is an assassin from the Purple Heaven Pavilion. Moreover, his rank is not low. He is not a normal assassin. Zhu Feng said. Oh, how did you see that? Chen Ning asked. This subordinate has only heard that the assassins of the Purple Heaven Pavilion are mysterious and unfathomable, each of them appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Almost no one has ever seen their true faces. The only thing people know is that all of their assassins have a symbol, which is that they will use purple thread to embroider a cloud on an inconspicuous place on their body. Although the pattern of the cloud is similar, it represents the identity and status of the assassin in the pavilion. Look, there are 5 clouds on this shoe, while ordinary assassins only have 3. Zhu Feng placed the shoe in front of Chen Ning. Chen Ning took a look, and it really was 5 small clouds. She thought back to the purple cloud she saw in the guest house last time, and it was 3. You're right. I never thought that this little ingrate would have such a high status, even though he looks so young. She thoughtfully said. Zhu Feng said with a serious expression. He shouldn't be young, but he is using a rare bone shrinking technique in the martial arts world. He can shrink his bones to look like a 5 or 6-year-old, but he should be at least 20 years old. 20 years old. Xiao Ru let out a surprised cry, and her face was filled with disbelief. She looked at Zhu Feng with a stutter. You, is what you said true? Does he look like a child? He looks like a child? Zhu Feng solemnly nodded to her. Although I haven't practiced this bone shrinking technique, I have heard of it. It is completely different from the common bone shrinking techniques in Jianghu. Not only can it shrink the bones and make the body look like a child, it can even make the face return to that of a child. It is said that this technique is called bone shrinking rejuvenation. It has been lost in Jianghu for a long time. I have only heard of it and have never seen it before. It is said that it takes at least 20 years of practice to reach the stage of rejuvenation. So if he started practicing this martial art when he was 5 or 6 years old, then he should be at least 25 or 26 years old now. Xiao Feng. So that means that Xiao Bao is already Xiao Ru stuttered, unable to finish. Chapter 1047. Xiao Ru let out a woo sound and almost fainted. A 25 to 26-year-old man. She recalled that she had hugged this man and even held him in her arms to comfort him. She had even openly stripped him of his clothes. Not only had she stripped his clothes, but she had also taken off his pants. She had thought that the other side was a 5 to 6-year-old boy. But who would have thought that the other side was a man? This was simply too embarrassing. For a moment, she wanted to find a hole to hide in. Zhu Feng ignored her and turned to look at Chen Ning. Empress, this subordinate has something that I don't know if I should ask. Although there was no one around, Zhu Feng still lowered his voice. Ask, how did you offend the people from the Purple Heaven Pavilion? According to this subordinate's knowledge, although the Purple Heaven Pavilion is a mysterious and unfathomable assassin organization, and they take people's money to eliminate disasters, they do not accept any business. It is said that they have never accepted business from the people of the imperial family, and the assassin who knew the bone shrinking skill just now was clearly targeting you. His goal was to take your life. This is what this subordinate does not understand. Zhu Feng had already understood everything and was even more shocked by the assassination methods of the Purple Heaven Pavilion. It was said that the Purple Heaven Pavilion never failed to kill, and it was impossible to guard against. Today, he had personally witnessed it. That assassin had used a plan within a plan. He had shrunk his bones to look like a 5 to 6-year-old boy and deliberately let himself be caught by the 4 villains, pretending to be the victim. Even he had been tricked by him. If it wasn't for the Empress seeing through his deception and using the peacock tail to stop him, then the one lying in the carriage right now would be the Empress' headless corpse. Even if the assassin didn't kill him, he wouldn't be able to protect his master. How could he have the face to live in this world? Once he thought of this, a chill ran down his back and a layer of goosebumps appeared. What he couldn't understand was why the assassin from the Purple Heaven Pavilion didn't look for anyone else but Chen Ning. The other side clearly knew who she was, but they still wanted to kill her. If they really provoked the Purple Heaven Pavilion, then it would be a big problem that they couldn't get rid of. It could be said that there would be endless troubles. If this assassination didn't succeed, then there would be another one. Moreover, it would be stronger and harder to guard against. The other side was in the dark, and they were in the light. They didn't know how many people there were, and he was the only one who knew martial arts. How could he protect the Empress? This was a big problem that gave him a headache. Regarding his question, not only did he not understand, Chen Ning also did not understand. The only thing she could think of was the failed assassination attempt by Zixiao Pavilion last time. Could it be that their target was her? Not Namu Qo? I don't know. Last time at the courier station, a group of assassins from Purple Heaven Pavilion broke into the courier station and tried to assassinate Namu Qo's men. At that time, one of the assassins wanted to kill me, but he was killed by Namu Qo. Could it be that they thought I was one of Namu Qo's men? That's why you're doing it again after failing last time? After thinking about it, she felt that this was the only reason. She didn't know martial arts, had no enemies, and had no contact with people in Jianghu. How could she attract the attention of a killer from Purple Cloud Pavilion? Chapter 1048. Xiaoru suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. You mean if they didn't harm the young miss this time, they will do it again? She said in a trembling voice. Zhu Feng nodded with a serious expression. Empress, no matter what the reason is, since the Purple Heaven Pavilion's assassins have their eyes on you, then this subordinate would like to suggest that we immediately return to the capital and ask the Emperor to send more people to protect your safety. This subordinate is only one person. I'm afraid I can't protect the Empress. He spoke the truth. Facing the mysterious Purple Heaven Pavilion, he really didn't have the slightest bit of confidence. Chen Ning didn't even think about it before rejecting his proposal. Return to the capital? No, I'm going to find the Divine Doctor. I definitely won't give up halfway. If I return to the capital now, Xiao Bai can't be saved. But, Empress, your safety is more important. If the Purple Heaven Pavilion's assassins come again, this subordinate really doesn't have the confidence. Zhu Feng still wanted to persuade her. Chen Ning didn't wait for him to finish and confidently said, Don't worry, that assassin won't appear in a short period of time. That's impossible. The Purple Heaven Pavilion's assassins won't give up until they reach their goal. Zhu Feng knit his brows. If this subordinate knew that he was someone from the Purple Heaven Pavilion, then this subordinate would have killed him with a single slash. Then I would have melted his corpse and destroyed all traces, making it so that the people from the Purple Heaven Pavilion wouldn't be able to find him. The more he thought about it, the more he regretted it. Zhu Feng, I didn't say that he would give up his goal. I only said that he wouldn't come to kill me in a short period of time. Chen Ning raised her eyebrows and revealed a faint smile. Xiaoru asked me why I didn't kill him with a single slash because I knew that if we really killed him, then we would be in big trouble that we couldn't get rid of. It was because I found out that he was someone from the Purple Heaven Pavilion that I let him go. Think about it. Since this is an organized and conspiratorial assassination, if he disappeared without a trace, would the people of Purple Heaven Pavilion not think that this was done by us? Would they let me go? Of course not. They would come out in full force and fight to the death with me. So, I didn't kill him. I let him go and then used that kind of method to humiliate him. If you were him, would you tell this kind of shameful thing to others? Zhu Feng's mouth fell wide open, not knowing what to say. Are you sure you wouldn't? Zhu Feng asked with a smile. Zhu Feng nodded. This kind of shameful matter, he wished he could keep it in his stomach and not tell anyone else. Since he won't tell anyone, then next time, he will definitely come to take revenge on me alone. Only he has been poisoned by my peacock tail opening, and Mo Chuan said that the medicine in the needle was specially refined. Even if his organization has the antidote, it won't be easy to cure him of the poison. Once he recovers, the Divine Doctor will be our back to the palace. Well, we will need to be the Divine Doctor, Feng said with a faint smile. Her words immediately calmed Zhu Feng down. The more he thought about it, the more reasonable he felt. His heart, which had been in his throat, fell into his stomach. However, We still have to be careful on the road. Miss Xiaoru, it's best if you put away your merciful heart and don't randomly save people. You almost killed the Empress this time. Do you know that? Zhou Feng had a serious expression as he stared at Xiaoru. If it wasn't for the fact that Xiaoru was a girl, he would have already taught her a lesson. Chapter 1049. Young miss, this servant has let you down. It's all this servant's fault. It's all this servant's fault. This servant won't save anyone in the future. No matter who it is, this servant won't save a single person. Xiaoru cried as she threw herself into Chun Ning's embrace. Chun Ning stroked her hair and comforted her. Xiaoru, this matter isn't your fault. Saving people was the right thing to do. Naturally, you should save a good person. In this world, there will always be more good people than bad people, right? Even if you save another white-eyed wolf, there's no need to be afraid. Next time we'll skin him and make you a wolfskin mattress. You can sit on it every day, all right? All right. Xiaoru's tears turned into a smile. Because of this accident, Zhou Feng was very cautious and careful on his way. He did not dare close his eyes every night, afraid that something would happen if he was not careful. Whenever there was a slight movement, he would open his eyes wide and look around vigilantly. In less than 2 days, he had a pair of panda eyes with sunken eye sockets. His face was haggard and his eyes were bloodshot. He was even thinner, just like a bamboo pole with clothes on it. If the wind was a bit stronger, he would be blown away. Although Chen Ning said that the Purple Heaven Pavilion's assassins would not come in the short term, Zhou Feng thought of the Emperor's warning before he left and did not dare slack off at all. Zhou Feng, you don't need to be so paranoid. If you don't sleep like this, and an assassin really comes, do you have the confidence to beat him? Chen Ning had tried to persuade him several times, but he still stubbornly insisted. Every night, he would hold his sword and guard their roof, keeping his eyes open until dawn. However, this question stumped him. He gritted his teeth and said, "This subordinate will protect your safety with my life." Chen Ning couldn't help shaking her head. Zhou Feng's wooden head really gave her a headache. He was loyal and meticulous, but if he was too rigid and stubborn, he would be pedantic. If you don't sleep like this, in less than 2 days, without an assassin coming, your body will be as weak as a scarecrow and you will fall down. If you fall down, who will protect me and Xiaoru? How will you explain this to the Emperor? So your body is the most important asset. You have to eat your fill and sleep well to have enough strength and energy to fight. Do you understand? Chen Ning was like teaching a primary school student. Zhou Feng seemed like he understood. What if this subordinate falls asleep and the assassin comes? I have my own methods. Chen Ning rolled her eyes at him in annoyance. You can go to bed in the future. I don't need you to keep watch. She released the aura of an empress, and Zhou Feng did not dare not listen. 2 days later, Chen Ning found that there were more and more people and carriages on both sides of the road. She couldn't help feeling this was strange. Thinking about it, he guessed the reason. Zhou Feng, are we reaching the place where the godly doctor lives? Zhou Feng stopped his whip and turned around to reply. That's right. Head east 70 miles, and there's a small valley. The godly doctor's medical hut is inside, and these people should be going to find the godly doctor to cure them. Xiaoru looked at the endless stream of carriages and people and couldn't help clicking her tongue. She called out, "Then let's hurry over." Seeing that they were about to reach their destination, Zhou Feng became excited. He raised his whip and drove the carriage quickly, passing several carriages in a short while. Chapter 1050. Looking forward, there was a long line of carriages that they couldn't see the end of. Moreover, after waiting for a long time, the carriages in front of them did not move at all. Zhou Feng couldn't help saying, "This subordinate will go ask around and see what is happening in front." Chen Ning nodded. Zhou Feng jumped off the carriage and used his qin gong to run forward. Not long after, he ran back with a strange expression on his face. What is happening in front? Is the road collapsing and is there a roadblock? Chen Ning asked. No, Zhui Feng shook his head. These people are all here to see the divine doctor. Xiao Ru took in a cold breath. That many. She stood on the carriage and stood on her tiptoes to look forward. She saw a long line of carriages that stretched far into the distance, and she couldn't see the front at all. Not to mention the divine doctor's medical hut. There wasn't even a shadow of a mountain valley to be seen. Are all these carriages lined up? Chen Ning asked. Zhui Feng nodded. That's right, this subordinate ran to the entrance of the mountain valley in one breath. With a rough estimate, there are at least 2,000 carriages lined up in front of us. This subordinate asked the people in front of us, and they said that they have been lining up for 3 days and 3 nights. But the divine doctor's speed is very fast. The people lining up at the entrance of the mountain valley should be here in another half a day. Over 2,000 carriages. Why are there so many people here? Xiao Ru gave a surprised cry as her mouth opened wide. Then she became depressed. Young miss, how long do we have to line up for? Do we have to wait here for 3 days and 3 nights as well? The divine doctor is very famous. There are people coming from all over to see him every day. No matter what time they come, they have to line up to see him. Even if we wait for 3 days and 3 nights, we don't know if we can invite the divine doctor. Zhui Feng looked at the long line of carriages and gave a long sigh. He didn't have much confidence in his heart, and now his hopes were even slimmer. There were many people coming from thousands of miles to see a doctor, but they wanted to invite the divine doctor to the capital city. They came empty-handed, and they didn't even bring a gift. It would be strange if they could invite the divine doctor. Miss Chun, this subordinate thinks we should prepare a gift. This way we can ask the divine doctor to treat us. If we just come here like this, I'm afraid the divine doctor won't like us. Zhui Feng carefully suggested. Along the way, he had seen many carriages with gifts on them, but their carriage was the only one that had nothing. Xiao Ru also nodded, expressing her agreement. That's right, young miss, we should also prepare a gift. Gift? What gift do you want to prepare? What gift do you want to prepare? What is he like? What is he like? Chun Ning softly said, You have to give him something he likes. We don't know anything about this godly doctor. Can you guarantee that the gift you give him will be to his liking? Sometimes, it might even touch on his taboo. What's more, he has the title of the world's #1 divine doctor. What gift in this world can enter his eyes? Her questions made Zhui Feng and Xiao Ru speechless. Then are we going to invite him empty-handed? Xiao Ru said. Chapter 10:51. Xiao Ru and Zhui Feng looked at each other, feeling confused. They did not understand what Chun Ning's words meant. Young miss, your meaning is that we're not going to invite him? Xiao Ru scratched her head and asked. Chun Ning revealed a faint smile and said, Of course we have to invite him, but we have to see if his medical skills are as amazing as the legends say. Zhui Feng, Xiao Ru, let's go take a look. Look? How do we look? Can't the carriage go through? Xiao Ru said in a daze. Silly girl, of course the carriage can't go through, but don't we have 2 legs? Let's go. Chun Ning jumped off the carriage and walked forward. Xiao Ru was stunned and found that Chun Ning was telling the truth. She gritted her teeth and jumped off the carriage, closely following behind Chun Ning. Zhui Feng's eyes swept over the carriage. He put his bag on his back and followed. The 3 of them followed the long line of carriages. They didn't need to ask for directions. They just needed to follow the direction of the carriages. The carriages were very long, and Zhui Feng wanted to use his qinggong to carry the 2 of them. With his qinggong, it wouldn't take long for them to reach the valley, but Chun Ning rejected him without any hesitation. She would rather walk like this. Along the way, they could hear quite a few stories about the godly doctor from the people who came to see them. It was just that those people were talking about him as if he was an immortal in the heavens. Along the way, they had heard more than a dozen examples of him curing people to death and reviving bones. When they first heard it, Xiao Ru's mouth turned into a circle, and she did not close it at all. She kept letting out exclamations. Really? This is too mysterious. Hearing this, even the alarmed Xiao Ru became expressionless. Young miss, why does this servant feel like this godly doctor is a swindler the more I hear? Xiao Ru couldn't help whispering as she revealed a look of doubt. Chen Ning's lips couldn't help twitching. Tell me, why does he seem like a swindler? Xiao Ru said, that person just said that the godly doctor can cut open a person's chest and dig out the heart before putting it back. If a person doesn't have a heart, wouldn't they die immediately? This servant doesn't believe it. How could there be this kind of medical skill in this world? Her face was filled with disbelief. Chen Ning did not say anything before Zhue Feng said, this subordinate also doesn't believe it. Some people said that the godly doctor cut open a pregnant woman's stomach to take out the fetus. Once the stomach is cut open, how could a person survive? Can't believe it, can't believe it. The rumors of the swindler really are all exaggerated. His face also revealed a look of disapproval. Chen Ning said with a faint smile, the medical skills you're talking about, I've seen it with my own eyes. If this divine doctor really has this kind of skill, then he really can be called the #1 divine doctor in the world. She looked to the front, and she had her eyes. This was because some of the cases mentioned by the crowd were indeed unimaginable to them. But as someone who came from the modern era, she didn't find it surprising at all. Feng! Yin Xiao Xiao Feng was not other words. A doctor would not have thought. Could it be that the #1 genius doctor in the world was like him, a transmigrator from the modern world? If that was really the case, then it would be more hopeful for her to ask him to return to the capital to save the people. Seeing that they were both transmigrators, he couldn't very well reject her request, right? Chapter 1052. Chen Ning secretly laughed at her own whimsical thoughts. Xiaoru and Zhue Feng were shocked speechless by her. The two of them stared at her. After a while, Xiaoru swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, Young miss, have you really seen this kind of medical skill before? Cutting open a person's stomach to take out a baby? Is that baby still alive? Chen Ning nodded, but she didn't say anything else. She knew that in the eyes of the people of this era, surgery from the modern era would definitely be considered shocking. The three of them walked until dusk before they finally saw the valley in front of them. There were still carriages lined up at the entrance of the valley. They continued to follow the carriages into the valley. This was a small valley surrounded by mountains on 3 sides. It wasn't too big, but the environment was very quiet. The sunset shined on the side of the mountains, covering the entire valley in a light red veil. The little valley was covered in a faint red mist. Looking into the distance, the scenery was very beautiful. So beautiful! Xiaoru couldn't help praising it. Chen Ning also felt relaxed. She secretly thought that the godly doctor had chosen a good place. It was simply a paradise. Once she stepped into the valley, she felt that the air was very fresh. Taking a deep breath, her chest felt very comfortable. Her entire heart calmed down, and she felt an indescribable sense of comfort. She looked around and saw that the valley was surrounded by medicine gardens. There was a blue stone path in the middle that led into the depths of the valley. She could see several cottages at the end of the stone path that were bathed in the light of the setting sun. It could be assumed that those cottages were the godly doctor's medical hut. All of the carriages were parked at the entrance of the valley. The blue stone path from the entrance to the medical hut was filled with people waiting to see the doctor. With a single glance, there were at least several hundred people. The strange thing was that everyone was silent. Other than the chirping of birds, there was no sound of people in the entire valley. Xiaoru had many questions she wanted to ask, but seeing that the people in the line were all silent like mutes, she didn't dare say anything. She could only secretly pull on Chen Ning's sleeve. Young miss, why aren't they saying anything? Are they all mutes? She was still a child and couldn't hold back her words. Hearing this, Chen Ning couldn't help glaring at her. She didn't even have time to scold her before someone heard Xiao Ru's words. Little miss, is this your first time coming to the godly Doctor Valley? An old man in the line smiled as he spoke. Not only was he not angry, his expression was very kind. His voice was very low. It was clearly he had lowered it on purpose. Xiaoru stuck out her tongue and said in an embarrassed voice, I'm sorry, old uncle. I didn't do it on purpose. How did you know it was our first time here? I didn't mean it. She also lowered her voice and said. The old man smiled and said in a low voice, "Because you don't know the rules of this valley, the godly doctor doesn't like people making noise. He likes silence, so all of us who live in the nearby villages know about it. Everyone spread the news to 10 to 100, so those who come to see the godly doctor don't talk loudly, so as not to disturb the godly doctor. So it's like this. But since we're so far away, it shouldn't be a problem for us to whisper here, right?" Xiaoru stuck out her tongue and looked at the medical hut in the distance. Chapter 1053. Ning revealed a faint smile and said, "Many thanks for the old uncle's advice. This is indeed our first time coming to the Godly Doctor Valley, but this little girl still has a matter to ask the old uncle. I hope the old uncle can give me a pointer or two." The old man saw that she was elegant and had a soft voice. His heart already had a good impression of her. With a smile, he said, "Miss can ask away. I've heard that this godly doctor doesn't treat people of high status, people he doesn't like, and people who are skilled in martial arts. Is that true?" The old man nodded and said, "That's right, it's true." Ning's eyes swept over the long line of people. Although she didn't know martial arts, she could still see that there were quite a few Jianghu practitioners in the line. There were even some people who were wearing rough clothes, but their waists were round and their faces were oily. With a single glance, she could tell that they were people who lived like princes. The old man followed Ning's gaze and understood her meaning. He lowered his voice and said, "Miss, even if these people line up in front of the medical hut, the godly doctor will not treat them. No matter how much money they give, the godly doctor will not even pay them a single glance." Ning asked in a strange voice, "Why is that? Since the godly doctor has the title of the #1 godly doctor in the world, doesn't he study medicine to save people? How do the officials, nobles, and people who know martial arts offend Sir Godly Doctor?" When the old man heard this, he looked over Ning. Ning had a natural expression as she let him look at her. She was wearing simple clothes, but she had an outstanding aura and grace. She was completely different from the people around her. The old man was very knowledgeable, so he could naturally see that she was not a normal person. He gave a sigh and said, "Miss, you don't need to hide it. Tell me the truth. Are you also from an illustrious official family?" Ning knew that she couldn't hide it from him, so she nodded. Old uncle's eyes are truly sharp. Then, "Young lady, are you going to treat yourself, or are you going to treat the maidservant beside you? If it's you, this old man advises you not to waste time lining up. If it's your maid or manservant, the godly doctor will treat them. This little girl isn't treating myself. I just don't understand why the godly doctor would set down these 3 strange rules. Old uncle, can you tell me a thing or two?" Ning politely asked. The old man didn't want to say it, but seeing Ning's dignified expression and gentle voice, he didn't have the heart to reject her. "Young lady, you are a foreigner. Speaking of this matter, not many of our local residents know about it. However, this old man just happened to be from the same village as the godly doctor's mother, so I know the whole story. Speaking of which, this is something that happened many years ago." He sighed softly and raised his head. His pair of old eyes looked at the medical hut in the distance. Looking at the smoke rising from the chimney above the medical hut, he sank into memories of the past. Chapter 1054. Ning asked, "What kind of uproar?" The old man gave a sigh and said, "That year, she was suddenly found out by her parents that she was pregnant, and it had already been 3 months. She was an unmarried girl, but she suddenly had a child in her stomach. Her parents flew into a rage and forced her to tell them who the father of the child was. If she didn't tell them, they would beat her to death to clear up the family's name. The people in the village were even more noisy, suggesting that they should drown her in a pig cage. She couldn't resist and told her parents the name of the father of the child in her stomach. When her parents heard this, they were shocked because the name she said was like thunder to their ears. It could be said that no one didn't know his name. He had a high status and great power. How could a person with such a high status be the father of a village girl's child? Her father did not believe her and kept asking, even using the life of the child in her stomach to interrogate her, but she insisted that the child's father was this person. She said that on a certain day, 4 months ago, her parents had left home to visit relatives, and she was the only one left at home. That day it was raining heavily, so she closed the door and was embroidering in her room. Suddenly, she heard a strange noise outside the door, so she opened her umbrella to take a look. She suddenly saw a wet young man come in from outside the door. When he saw her, he hugged her without saying anything and forcefully defiled her. After this, the man dared to take responsibility and left her a jade pendant. He told her his name and said that if she wanted him to take responsibility, she should take the jade pendant to the capital city to find him, and he would give her an explanation. She was just a village girl. How could she have entered the capital city? She only remembered that man's name, but she did not dare tell her parents about this matter. She wanted to keep this matter in her stomach, but she never thought that she would get pregnant, so she couldn't hide it anymore. Her parents did not believe her, but when they saw the jade pendant she took out, they knew that this jade pendant was a rare item. Their village families definitely did not have this kind of thing, so they couldn't help but believe it. Because that man's status was very high, they were pleasantly surprised. They never thought that their daughter would have such a high status, so the two of them helped their daughter up and told the villagers the name of the father of their daughter's child. They also showed the jade pendant to everyone. The jade pendant had this person's name engraved on it, so the villagers were pleasantly surprised and congratulated them. So her parents chose an auspicious day and prepared a donkey cart to send their daughter to the capital city. They prepared to find that man and have him give their daughter a status. They knew that their daughter came from a poor family and that man's status was high above them, so they did not expect her to be his wife. They only hoped that they could give their daughter the status of a concubine. Their daughter would have someone to rely on, and the child in her stomach would be born, so they would not be talked behind her back. Who would have thought that when they entered the capital and went to inquire about the man's manner? When they came to the door, who would have thought that not only did the man turn hostile and refuse to acknowledge her, but he also ordered the servants to beat her parents out of the house and smash the jade pendant. He said that there was no such thing, that she was deliberately slandering him, and that she was muddle-headed because she wanted to climb up a high branch. He also refused to admit that the child in her belly was his own flesh and blood, and was extremely humiliating to her. Chapter 1055. Hearing this, Xiaoru's face turned red with anger. She tightly clenched her fists and forcefully waved them. This man is simply an animal. He's not human. He's heartless. He's even more of a white-eyed wolf. Also, that girl is truly pitiful. What happened after that? What happened to them after they returned to their hometown? Her eyes were filled with tears of sympathy. The old man wanted to tell her to keep her voice down, but when he saw her expression, he gently patted her shoulder and said, "Little girl, you have a good heart. The heavens will protect you." Saying this, he couldn't help giving a long sigh. He continued to speak. Originally, the villagers thought that after they entered the capital, they would reach the heavens in a single step. They never thought that the family of 3 would come back in such a sorry state. The ridicule, and insults were all over the place. Her father was already injured, and after being ridiculed by the villagers, he spat out blood and died on the spot. The girl's mother was also sick, and she couldn't take out any money to treat her mother's illness. She could only watch as her mother left this world. She was filled with grief and almost didn't want to live anymore. Xiaoru gave an ah sound, and the tears that she had been holding back finally fell. She raised her sleeve to wipe her tears and said with a choked voice, "Is she all right? If she died, what would happen to the child in her stomach? Old uncle, quickly tell me, what happened to her?" After saying this, she patted her head again. "I'm really confused. Of course she didn't die. The child in her stomach is Mr. Godly Doctor." The old man laughed at her words and patted her head. Then his smile disappeared and he said with a serious expression, "That's right, she didn't die. Her parents passed away a few days ago, but she didn't have the money to bury them, so she knelt on the street and sold herself to bury her parents. Although the villagers pitied her, everyone knew that she was a woman touched by that important person and that she was pregnant with that important person's child. Who would have the guts to buy her? So she knelt on the street for an entire 3 days, but no one cared about her. Just when she was at her wit's end, a famous martial arts master passed by. He took pity on her and buried her parents for her. She was so grateful that she was willing to become the master's servant. But she didn't expect that the master was a hypocrite. He already had a wife and a son, but he took a fancy to her beauty. On the 3rd day after she gave birth, he broke into her room under the pretext of being drunk. After that, the master threatened her not to reveal this matter to anyone, or else he would kill her son. The glimmer of hope that had just been ignited in her life was once again extinguished. There is actually such a man that is worse than a beast in this world. This expert was even more inhuman than the man from before. This girl is too pitiful. Then what? Why did she not take the child and leave? She should have run far away. Don't tell me she's going to let others bully her like this. The more Xiao Ru heard, the angrier she became. Her chest began to heave up and down. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.